Baltimore Orioles under brutally cold conditions get ready to play ball. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller along with Joe Morgan. And Joe, 15 years now of coverage, Major League Baseball on ESPN. Nice going, man.
Nice going for you too, Joe.
All right. So now here we've got the Red Sox, and they have put all that behind them. Pedro said he had to. There's no other way to do it. But the Red Sox are, again, filled with high hopes and a lot of expectations for this season.
Well, first of all, John, there's nothing like opening night. And this is the night that the Red Sox fans and the players have been looking to since Game 7 of last year's LCS championship. There's an old saying in baseball, wait till next year. Well, this is next year. And take my word for it, the Red Sox will put that behind them after the first pitch tonight, at least until they face the Yankees again. But this is a good Red Sox team. I think it's a better team than last year.
Now, in Baltimore, they think that the Orioles are going to be a lot better as well, and maybe even a factor in the race. We'll get a look at them. Tonight, they've added 3 great sluggers, Tejada, Palmeiro, and Javi Lopez.
Well, John, I think they all 3 bring something different to the table. Tejada's going to be the leader of this ball club. He plays the game with passion. He's going to be a leader by example. You take Rafael Palmeiro. He is the consummate RBI man. He's going to stabilize the middle of this lineup. And you have Javi Lopez. He hit 43 home runs last year, the most in a single season by a catcher ever. This ballpark is going to be conducive for these guys to add to those numbers. So I think this is a good ball club, and you have Jay Gibbons from last year to go with these sluggers. So the Orioles are on top right now.
All right, so we'll catch up with the Red Sox. We'll meet a lot of these new Orioles. Sidney Ponson will be up against Pedro tonight, the Orioles ace from last year. And Miguel Tejada makes his Orioles debut, and he met the man himself, the Iron Man, Cal Ripken, just before.
The Home Depot. You can do it. We can help. And in part by GoRVing.com. Pursue your passions. For a free video, visit GoRVing.com.
Inside Camden Yards, it is very cold. You would forgive the fans here if they thought they had walked into the middle of a Ravens-Patriots game during football season. Although I'm not sure it gets this cold during football season here in Baltimore. It is bitterly cold. The Boston Red Sox, 2004, with their 2003 averages listed. Johnny Damon leads off center field. Then Bill Miller, the batting champion of the American League, third base. Manny Ramirez, left field. David Ortiz, who had the big breakout year last year, the DH. Kevin Millar, first base. Gabe Kapler in right field. Jason Varitek, the slugging catcher, hit 7th. Mark Bellhorn at second base. And Pokey Reese, the new second baseman, at short in the absence of Nomar Garcia-Parra. And pitching for the Orioles, Sir Sidney Ponson, 14 wins for Baltimore last year before they traded him to the Giants and then re-signed him this offseason as a free agent.
Well, John, last year was his first winning season at 27 years old, but they expect him to build on that. Throws a good fastball, a hard slider, and a cutter. And he's been working on an off-speed pitch this spring, so we'll see how effective he is. He has to have control of his off-speed pitch tonight.
And here's Johnny Damon, and we are underway. A called strike. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan, and a new member of our crew who will be joining us this year, Sam Ryan. We'll be hearing from Sam shortly, and all through the telecast as Damon slaps one just foul outside of third. 2 strikes the count.
Well, one of the things that you have to look for in tonight's ballgame is the fact that it's very cold out there, and most hitters will not want to be jammed. So that works in Ponson's and Martinez's favor in that most hitters will try to protect the inside, which will allow you to go away from them and be effective.
0-2 the count. And he tried the slider off the outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Interesting look for Johnny Damon this year.
Is that what you call it? Interesting?
John just said when the season ended, he didn't feel like shaving or getting his hair cut or whatever. And he still doesn't, apparently. And Miguel Tejada, in his first game as an Oriole, the first play of the game is Tejada's. And you said he looks to be the leader of this ball club. He's going to be the leader. He already is the leader.
Right. And
he leads the way here, makes the first play of the season.
Well, here's the defense. It's a different defense than they had last year, of course, with Lopez behind the plate. Palmeiro has won Gold Gloves in the past at first base, and Tejada, in my opinion, is the best defensive shortstop in the league now that Alex Rodriguez has moved over to third.
And there's a called strike to Bill Miller. Miller, a batting champion last year after coming over from the National League. And he blossomed as a sometime power hitter last year as well. by far the best year of his career. That breaking ball down the left field line. On the run is Big B, and he just can't quite get there. You run into the stands in a hurry in that left field corner. The stands come out very close to the foul pole at that point.
And the one thing you have to look for if you're a Boston fan is how will Miller bounce back this year, and David Ortiz. Miller, of course, won the batting championship last year, his first year in the American League, which is very unusual. And you have to think, well, is he going to be better, or is he going to have the same type of season? And David Ortiz the same way. In order for the Red Sox to be good, these two guys will have to perform as well this year as they did last year.
And Ramirez on deck. Miller got jammed on that one, and there's Tejada again. Two men gone. Well, maybe that's the strategy for the Orioles. Make them all hit the ball to Tejada.
Well, they're testing him early, that's for sure.
Two down. Well, you know, they say Tejada went right in the clubhouse in Fort Lauderdale when spring training began and immediately told everyone, he says, hey, this is going to be a good ball club. We can win. And he's a guy who'd been winning. He was on 4 straight teams at Oakland that went to the postseason. Here is Manny Ramirez, and that's a ball outside. Manny, who was there, any team in baseball could have had him just by claiming him on waivers. They would have had to pick up his salary.
Yeah, that was the difficult part.
And there were no takers.
I think any team would want him as a hitter. They just didn't want to pay the price.
That's a fastball on the inside from Ponson. You see that 95 miles an hour. He throws hard. 1 ball, 1 strike. Then it looked like Manny was going to go to Texas for Alex Rodriguez. But it was a question of salary again. And that's just off the outside. And apparently the Red Sox did not want to take on all of Alex Rodriguez's salary. And Texas didn't want to take all of Manny Ramirez's salary. And so the trade was not made. And then eventually the Yankees made the trade. That's a foul. And interestingly, Joe, Brett Boone is the one who hit the home run. Not Brett Boone, Brett's younger brother. Aaron Boone hit the home run in Game 7 to send the Yankees to the World Series, send the Red Sox home, and send a whole chain of events into motion in the offseason for the Red Sox. And Aaron Boone then hurt himself playing a basketball game before spring training. And it was shortly after that that the Yankees, needing a third baseman, traded for A-Rod. 2-2 the count to Ramirez. And that is over the head of Palmeiro down the right field line. Base hit. Gibbons over to pick it up. And Ramirez will hold with a single.
Man, he's a good hitter. I mean, this guy, they went inside, outside. He tried everything. He got 2 strikes on him, and he's trying to go away. So what does Manny do? The ball tails in a little bit. He just inside outs the ball to right field. I mean, beautiful hitting right there. I mean, that's, you know that Manny's going to hit. That's why I say Bill, Miller, Ortiz, these are guys that are going to have to produce again. Manny always produces.
Here's David Ortiz now as Ramirez takes over at first base. Manny really hustled on that ball, too. He ran hard to first, took a big turn around first. Now, is that something we're going to see from Manny all year long? That was something that doesn't always happen with Manny.
I was going to ask you, is that unusual?
That's a foul by David Ortiz out of play.
I talked to Ortiz before the ballgame, and he said that in the past he's had, pretty good success against Ponson, except he does not like cold weather. I mean, he hates cold weather.
David Ortiz, who put up the big numbers last year for manager Grady Little, and as you saw Terry Francona in the dugout a few moments ago, and he's got a new manager. Francona taking over after Grady Little. Actually, he wasn't fired. He resigned. And that's back out of play. Of course, they weren't exactly saying, Grady, come on back either.
Well, I think that actually started even before the postseason, that they weren't, he did not get the extension that he wanted beforehand. And after that, I guess he just decided it was time to go.
0-2 to Ortiz. Manny Ramirez, the runner at first. Ortiz, 31 homers last year. Ooh. A little cut fastball check swing, no swings, as third base umpire Alfonso Marquez. I asked Javi Lopez about Ponson, and he said, well, he got that great sinking fastball that he throws real hard. He said, but that cutter has become a real weapon for him, too. You saw it there at 91 miles an hour.
And it was a very good pitch because he got ahead and he tried to bust him in off the plate.
1-2. And he changed up on it there. That's off the foot of Ortiz, a foul ball.
He's gotten 2 quick strikes on Ortiz and also Manny Ramirez, and then he's missed his spots. He missed his spot with Manny, and he made him pay for it by singling to right. That was supposed to be away, and that ball got a lot of the plate, middle of the plate, but he was able to get Ortiz just to foul it off, but he has not been able to make the good pitch after he gets ahead of the hitter.
Ponson ahead of Ortiz, 1-2. Ponson, who has not had success against the Red Sox, but they've been a nightmare for him. He's had 1 win and 9 losses in his career against the Red Sox. So he's trying to turn that around as the Orioles are trying to turn themselves around this season. Now it's 2-2.
Much better pitch there. Watch the catcher's target. He was giving him that pitch down and away, and he threw it there. And make no mistake about it, Ponson knows his record against the Red Sox. He knows that he has struggled against them.
2-2. And that's inside. Now it's 3-2. Kevin Millar on deck. Rafael Palmeiro stepping in from first, hollering over as you see Millar on deck. Palmeiro alerting Ponson that he will no longer be on the bag with Ramirez. Well, the count had been 0-2. There's Rafi back behind Ramirez, who is running, and a pop-up foul that will reach back out of play. So Ortiz giving him quite a battle here.
A lot of times when you have success against a pitcher, it's because you see the ball well out of his hand. And that's what we're seeing here. He may not be swinging the bat as well as he would like on this cold night, but he still sees the ball well off of Ponson.
This will be the 8th pitch from Sidney Ponson, who hails from Aruba in the Netherlands Antilles, north of the coast of Venezuela in the Caribbean. Ramirez takes off from first. He struck him out with the high heat.
Great fastball.
So now Pedro Martinez will head to the mound on a cold night in Baltimore. The Orioles coming up. Baseball's opening night from Baltimore. The Red Sox did not score. Now the Orioles are coming up against Pedro Martinez. For the Orioles, it will be Brian Roberts at second base. He's a switch hitter, very speedy. Melvin Mora had a big year last year, third base. Miguel Tejada at short, former American League MVP. Rafael Palmeiro, the 500 home run man, comes back to Baltimore at first base. Javi Lopez, 43 big flies last year, the catcher. Jake Gibbons, he was the big hitter last year. He's in right. David Segui at the DH. Larry Bigby in left field. And Luis Matos in center field, another speedster. And let's bring in our colleague, Sam Ryan.
And John, Pedro's spring numbers have some Sox fans concerned. They've questioned his velocity. Now, his fastball barely reached 90 miles an hour. His ERA 6.75 over 5 starts in the spring. Now, in his last outing, went just 3 innings, 84 pitches, 6 runs in the first inning alone. Pedro said, hey, I'm fine. Just spring training. Those numbers don't count. Dave Wallace, the Red Sox pitching coach, said, you know what, from a stuff standpoint, he had pretty good stuff. I asked Dave how long he was going to stick with Pedro in the cold here tonight. He said a 90 pitch count, but it depends if it's an easy or difficult 90 pitches. Guys?
All right, that first pitch, 88 miles an hour to Brian Roberts, too low for ball 1.
Well, first of all, spring training does not matter when you're a star like Pedro Martinez, Roger Clemens, all the guys who have had success.
Hit sharply, but there is Pokey Reese, one of the best shortstops in the game, and he almost never plays shortstop. He made that one look easy.
Yeah, but when you're Pedro Martinez, you're in spring training getting in shape. You're working on new things. You're doing a lot of things. You don't really concern yourself with how many runs you give up in spring training. It's not that you go out there to get knocked around, but take my word for it, the bell rings tonight. You will see the real Pedro start to turn the ball loose. You don't throw as hard as you possibly can in spring training either.
Look at the movement on that pitch, coming back from the outside and over the plate for a strike to Melvin Mora.
But the one thing he has to have is that changeup, control of it, and the curveball. He can't just go out there and throw fastballs all night.
With fastball off the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Melvin Mora had a breakout year last year. Hit .317. Made the All-Star team. His on-base average, .418. And now he's got a permanent position, third base, as that's a strike on the outside. 1-2 the count. Mora used to be the guy that would play all over the field just because he was able to. He gave them that flexibility. But now he's got a permanent home at third base under new manager Lee Mazzilli. That's hit softly. He's got lots of speed. Bill Miller in a hurry. Off the bag, and he is safe. Millar thought that he got him, but the first base umpire, Ted Barrett, said that he missed him.
Well, very difficult play because when you have 2 strikes, the third baseman's deep. You see he's not even in the picture, and he has to charge. Miller makes a fine play because he is a pretty good third baseman, but that's just a tough play for a guy that runs as well as Mora does. Can't make it much better than that or get rid of it any quicker.
So Melvin Mora picks up where he left off last year. He missed most of the last 6 weeks last year with injury. And now we see the new power hitters of the Orioles hitting consecutively. Here's Miguel Tejada with Palmeiro and Lopez behind him. Pedro, that's a strike, and that's a beauty right on the outside at the knees.
And that's a beautiful sinking fastball right there. Velocity-wise, not that hard, but a perfect location and great movement. Tejada,
a proven RBI man, 4 consecutive years, over 100 RBIs with Oakland. That's too high. A ball and a strike down. Tejada, of course, we've talked about the Red Sox disappointment against the Yankees in the League Championship Series. Miguel Tejada experienced the same kind of disappointment against the Red Sox in the division series. His A's lost the last 3 games of that series after getting ahead 2 games to none. That's down the right field line. Big push by the wind, and it will drop back into the crowd. Foul.
Well, John, one of the things we'll get a chance to look at this tonight is that we see 2 new managers. Francona, of course, for the Red Sox, and Mazzilli for the Orioles. We'll have to find out what type of manager Mazzilli is. Is he a guy that's going to put guys in motion? Is he going to be an aggressive manager? Or is he going to play kind of a station-to-station, you know, kind of a game with all this power he has on the ball club?
I asked him about that, and he said he really likes to make things happen.
Every manager says that.
Now Tejada with a high fly ball. There's Johnny Damon losing his cap. It's a real windy night. The wind's swirling around in there, but Damon stayed with it. Out number 2.
And let's take a look at the defense for the Red Sox.
Next up for the Orioles, the first baseman, number 25,
Johnny Damon in the outfield. Manny Ramirez had a very good year last year defensively, but when you put a guy like Pokey Reese on your staff, on your team, you're immediately upgrading your defense. He's playing shortstop tonight, but he's won Gold Gloves as a second baseman, and when Nomar comes back, he'll move over to second base. So this is a better defense this year simply because you've added Pokey Reese.
Rafael Palmeiro played his first home opener as an Oriole 10 years ago today. And that's a ball off the outside.
And you can see how they've shifted on Rafael.
1 ball and no strikes to Palmeiro. Palmeiro hit his 500th home run last year while with Texas. So he's on that short list of great home run sluggers, and he fouls that one back. In his first opener as an Oriole, 1994, the fans just were excited that they had him. They knew he was a legitimate slugger, although he seemed to become an even better slugger after he got here. But he homered in that first opener 10 years ago, and they brought him out for a curtain call, and he said after the game, that's the first time in my life I ever was brought out for a curtain call. And he hits a little flare just over the head of Miller. Base hit, digging for third. More than throw is there, and he's out. Manny Ramirez to Pokey Reese. So Mora tried to make it happen, and the Red Sox execute. The inning is over. Kevin Millar coming up. No score. There's a called strike from Ponson to Kevin Millar. Here we go to the second inning. The Red Sox nothing. The Orioles nothing. Millar, Kapler, and Varitek coming up against Sidney Ponson. That fastball is outside. Now, all through that first inning, according to our radar gun, we had Pedro throwing fastballs 88, 87, 89 a couple of times. And we see Ponzon. It's not just the radar gun. Ponzon's throwing 94, 95, 96.
Well, I think you'll see Pedro throw better as the game progresses.
That one is foul.
Let's take a look at this. I think Mora got fooled because he sees Bill Miller go out after this ball. He thinks third base is open, but you see Pokey Reese comes over, beats him there, and that's why he was out. But a great play by Pokey Reese because he started from the opposite side of second base. He was on the right field side.
Miguel Tejada comes charging in on this one. And Millar is out number one.
Here, Pokey Reese starts on the opposite side of the bag. There's Pokey Reese. Now he takes off and he beats Mora to third base. Third base was uncovered until Pokey Reese got there. You see Pedro in the background, but he would not have been able to get there. He was going to take the throw behind the bag. So a great play there by Pokey Reese, who we've already said is a great defensive player.
I mean, Pokey doesn't get there. Pedro would have had to make that
but
play.
he would not have been at the bag in time.
Under the glove of Mora. And Gabe Kapler is aboard. It was as if he were waiting for a bounce that never happened. The ball stayed down and went right under his glove. And that's going to be scored as an error against Melvin Mora.
High fastball. Kapler gets on top of it. And as you said, it looked like Mora was trying to catch the hop. He thought it was going to hop. And see, the ball stays down.
Yeah, I think it skidded on him there a little bit.
So, and when you're at third base, you do not have a lot of time to react. You just see the ball and try to time it as it's coming towards you.
Now Jason Varitek, the powerful Red Sox catcher, a switch hitter, and that's too high for ball one. No score in the game. We're in the second. 43 degrees is the official game time temperature.
43.
And I'm not buying that.
I'm not either.
But because I think it's in the 30s plus the wind chill factor. But even at 43 degrees, this is the coldest game time temperature for an Orioles opener since they moved to Baltimore in 1954.
Well, if you're the Orioles, you got a little taste of what was to come. Last Thursday, they played in Port St. Lucie. They played the Mets, and they said it was cold at night. Very, very chill evening, and they got accustomed to it a little bit. I don't know if you actually ever get used to it.
Like they had wind chill factors in the 20s, did they?
No, but when you're in Florida and you're used to 80-degree temperatures, when it gets around 50 or 40, it's like it is tonight here.
Well, when the Ravens hosted the Tennessee Titans in the NFL playoffs back in January here in Baltimore, 61 degrees game time temperature.
Well, that's more acceptable.
But, you know, I'm excited, though, to find out it's the coldest opener in Orioles history. This is the 50th year of the Orioles, the 50th anniversary of their first season in Baltimore. And, you know, I was not that happy when it was so cold out. Then I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, this is historic. You and I were here for a record. Now I'm thrilled about it. 1-1 the count to Varitek. That's a check swing and ruled a swing. Third base umpire Alfonso Marquez makes the call. 1 ball, 2 strikes now. Mark Bellhorn on deck.
John, we talked about Pedro and great pitchers not having great springs and then turn it on when the bell rings. The hitters are just the opposite. Hitters can't just turn it on. So they have to get their timing down and do things in spring training. And if they have a poor spring, a lot of times it carries over into the season.
Just a little bit low that time. 2-2. Varitek. That's the runner. Gabe Kapler over at first. 1 out. I'm sending Kapler right now. He's not running. And that's low and inside for a ball. 3-2. Because it's cold out. I want him to move.
Well, one of the things that happens, though, when it's cold, John, you don't get as quick a start. You're not as loose. And, you know, we're going to have to wait and see how these managers, they have to find their own niche with the players that they have.
And there you see the wind is whistling through downtown Baltimore as well. Well, it's 3-2 now. Now he's got to run now. There he goes. Oh, man, broke his bat. A slider right into the hands, and the bat just exploded. I bet that felt really nice on Varitek's hands. 3-2. I mean, when you're playing in this kind of cold weather, it's gonna be tough to hit anyway.
Well, as I said, most hitters, this is what they dread more than anything else. Ball in on their hands, and they shattered that bat.
So Varitek's got to get a new piece of wood now. I was down at the batting cage when the Red Sox were taking their hitting, and even the Orioles before that, and all the lefties were saying the ball was not carrying to right field at all. Balls to right field were getting knocked down by a pretty stiff wind. Kapler runs, and that is a foul out of play. The big crowd here at Camden Yards. Attendance had been slipping. 6 consecutive losing seasons here. But when the Orioles went out and brought in the 3 sluggers, Tejada, Palmeiro, Javi Lopez, they also brought back Ponson, their big winner from last year. The fans got excited. I mean, there was electricity about the Orioles here in Baltimore for the first time in a while. Again, Kapler was running, and again the ball fouled out of play. Well, Ponson, again, as he had with Ortiz in the first inning, having a tough time putting this left-handed hitter away.
Well, he's made some good pitches, because you see, actually, when you watch Varitek, he's not getting a good swing. He's not getting any extension. So they're pretty good pitches, but Varitek's been lucky enough to stay alive.
This will be the 9th pitch of this sequence. Ponson to Varitek, and back to the bag at first is Kapler. Gabe Kapler, who's in there in place of Trot Nixon, who's injured. He's got a disc problem. He's out. Won't be back until next month at the earliest. The runner goes, strike 3. The throw down, the tag by Tejada. And Kapler wasn't so sure. Javi Lopez coming up. No score in the game. Baseball's opening night. We're in Baltimore. The Red Sox nothing. The Orioles nothing. Last of the second coming up here at Camden Yards. We've seen Miguel Tejada. We've seen Rafael Palmeiro, 2 of the sluggers and run producers acquired by the Orioles in the offseason. Here's another one. Javier Lopez, 43 homers last year for Atlanta, and his first bat for the Orioles. Down the line, and it's gone! A home run! The first pitch that Lopez sees as an Oriole from Pedro Martinez, no less, and he picks right up where he left off in Atlanta. A home run for Javi Lopez. 1-0 Baltimore.
Well, Javi Lopez has always been a good fastball hitter, and this is a good high fastball, and I mean, he nails it. A line drive. And I know that I said earlier, I think this ballpark is really going to help him. Not that he needs any help, but this is a great hitter's ballpark.
So now here is Jay Gibbons. He was Baltimore's big power man last year, and now he drops down to 6th in the order. We got lots of other sluggers in front of him, and it doesn't all fall on his shoulders any longer.
Well, John, it also makes that mistake by Melvin Moore to get thrown out at third base with 2 outs to end the last inning. Even more of a mistake now when you had Javi Lopez in the on-deck circle.
I mean, you had a slugger. You would have had 2 men on with 2 men out. That is through. Base hit. So Jay Gibbons, who had 100 RBIs last year himself, gets a base hit.
Let's take a look at the home run. And here's what K-zone. Fastball up and out over the plate. And I mean, Javi Lopez puts a charge into it. He holds his hands high, never drops them down, and that's why he can handle a high fastball. If you hold your hands high and you drop them, you can't get them back up in time. He starts above the strike zone and he stays there.
Now David Seguin. Changeup off the outside. 1 ball, no strikes. Seguin has had wrist problems. He's had a couple of surgeries on his left wrist, and he says even now it's healed up enough where he can play with it, but every time he swings there's pain in that wrist.
Well, and the cold weather definitely will not help that tonight.
There goes the runner. That changeup swung on a miss, and then that fooled Vanacek. He didn't seem to realize that Gibbons was running, and Gibbons steals the bag.
Well, when you have a guy like Pedro who throws a lot of changeup, you try to pick that pitch if you're going to steal a base. And this is a changeup. He doesn't have a great lead, doesn't get a great jump, and you can see Vanacek didn't know he was going. And it's up to the infielders to yell to let the catcher know that the runner is going. When you have a left-handed hitter up there, he can't see the runner take off.
David Segui now, the runner at second base, and he gets hit. Richie Bancells, the Orioles trainer, jumped up out of the dugout to see if Segui was going to need some help, but Segui's able to go to first base. Seems to be okay.
Now, I noticed this in the first inning when Pedro tried to throw a real good fastball in the first inning to Tejada. The ball got away up and in where a left-handed hitter would have been. And it seemed like there he was reaching back to get a little bit more to try to finish Segui off after throwing him some changeups. Now watch, he'll give a little bit extra right there. Supposed to be a fastball inside corner, and he tries to get a little bit more, and he gets away from it. At least that's the story he will tell you.
Here's Larry Bigby, and another one got away from him.
See, I think when he's trying to add a little bit to the fastball, as I said, I noticed that in the first inning, and he was pitching to Tejada, who was right-handed, but the ball got away and went over into the left-handed hitter's batter's box. I think you'll see him have to settle down and realize maybe I can't reach back and get anymore.
This is Larry Bigby, 26 years old, and the Orioles and all of his Oriole teammates all rave about the ability of Larry Bigby. That is ruled a strike. He did not get the bat back from that bunt attempt in time.
Again, the ball's off the plate inside.
He's looking at Tom Trebelhorn, the third base coach, for a sign here. He's the 9th place hitter.
And this is something you do not see very often, you know, in the American League this early in the ballgame, trying to bunt, you know, runners in over with runners at first and second, no one out.
Bigby, the 8th place hitter. Matos, the 9th place hitter, is on deck. Gibbons at second. Segui at first. He's not bunting here, and the check swing and a foul. 1 ball and 2 strikes. By the way, I mentioned that, you know, you said it would be interesting to see what kind of a manager Mazzilli is. Right. I said he's going to be aggressive. That's what he told me. Right. Gibbons gets a steal here. That's 1 more steal than Gibbons had all of last year.
And now he's trying to bunt the runners over. So that tells you a little bit about his style. That he probably acquired some of that style from Joe Torre.
Little tap. Pedro's play is to first. And he throws it away. Gibbons will score. To third base, Segui, and Bigby ends up at second base. 2-0 Orioles. Still nobody out.
Well, we'll watch here. Pedro takes a long look at second base, and then he does not set himself to go to first base. I thought he had a shot at second base on this play. Now watch, he gets there, he looks at second, and look at that, he doesn't turn and go to first base. He throws the ball more three-quarter sidearm, and the ball tails away. Now watch, he doesn't set his body to go to first base. He kind of throws it across his body, behind him, and it tails away. And that's exactly why he threw it away. He did not step toward first base.
Last year, Pedro faced the Orioles at Fenway Park in the season's early days. And it was the worst start, at least by the numbers, of his career. And things are not going very well right now, a year later. 2 runs home for Baltimore. Runners at second and third, nobody out. Matos, the 9th place hitter, at the plate. Catches the outside, strike 2.
I think we've seen a lack of communication here by the Red Sox infield. They did not alert Vanacek to the fact that Gibbons was stealing second base, and right there they could have been yelling second base for Martinez. I think he had, well, I know he had a shot at second base at getting Segui.
Well, they may not be communicating with Pedro for the Red Sox infield, but the crowd at Camden Yards is communicating with Pedro right now as they started chanting, Pedro, Pedro. And You know, I'm not totally up on my crowd etiquette on those kind of cheers, Joe. But usually I think they don't mean it in a good sense. As Matos fouls one back and out of play. I mean, if you don't ever start chanting at me like that. Let me just put it that way. Luis Matos, 25 years old. He's another guy who burst upon the scene last year. Hit .303 for the Orioles. And that's back out of play. He said, I asked him about the cold tonight, and he said, it's not that bad when I remember where I was on opening night last year, which was in Ottawa, in Canada. He said there was snow. It was in the 20s. He said, this is much, much nicer.
Well, Pedro got his speed up to 90 miles an hour. He was trying for the strikeout on a fastball up and in.
That is a base hit. Segui scores. Bigby stops at third. Matos knocks in a run. And Pedro is having a nightmare here in the second inning. Very similar to the one last Tuesday when he gave up 6 in the first inning in an exhibition game.
Well, he tried to get him on a 90-mile-an-hour fastball to pitch before. He fouled it off, so he came back. He was supposed to throw a changeup away, and this ball goes right into the middle of the plate. And Matos hits a line drive to left field. Just bad location with the changeup. Watch, it's supposed to be a changeup down. That ball's up and in the middle of the plate. And he lines it to left field for a base hit.
Next up for the Orioles is second base.
Not a good spot for the changeup.
So now the top of the order. 3 runs have scored already. Bigby is at third. Matos is at first. And Brian Roberts, the leadoff man, is coming up. Well, and Orioles fans got excited this winter and started buying tickets in huge numbers in anticipation of this Orioles season. This is just what they were hoping for. That changeup misses up and away. 1 ball, no strikes.
Well, they definitely have a chance of having a very good offensive team. I mean, you added 3 guys with 100 more RBIs. You talked about Jay Gibbons. You got Mora. You've got some guys on this ball club who are very good players and good offensive players.
Red Sox middle infield looking for the double play ball. They give away a run here to get the double play. That's a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike to Roberts. Mora is on deck, and after him Tejada and all the big power hitters again. Here's Melvin Mora on deck. Roberts, the leadoff man, the 6th hitter to come about in this inning. There goes Matos from first base. And Veritek's throw not nearly in time. The 2nd stolen base of the inning for the Orioles.
Well, that's one of the things that we saw with the Yankees facing Pedro. They tried to steal bases and run on him whenever they could. So I'm sure that Mazzelli saw that it worked at times when he's with the Yankees, so he's trying to do it. And really no chance for Veritek. You see the great jump at first base by Matos, and a good job by Veritek. He didn't even look at third base. He knew it was just a straight steal.
That runs inside, down around the knees. 3-1 to Brian Roberts. There's Lee Mazzilli. He wanted to see this ball club be aggressive on the base pass. It may have cost him in the first inning.
Well, I think that was just, you know, he was fooled by the fact that Miller went to the outfield.
That's back out of play. 3-2 now. Melvin Mora thrown out in the first inning with Javi Lopez up next. Well, Javi led off here in the second inning and homered on the first pitch he saw. Gibbons singled, stole second. Segui got hit by a pitch. Bigby reached on Pedro's throwing error. Then Matos with an RBI single. Now he has stolen second. Nobody out. 3 runs in. And he struck him out and got a little extra on that fastball, at least a little extra based on what he's been throwing tonight. The Boston bullpen gets busy now. Bronson Arroyo, right after he started to warm up. Well, the Orioles with 3 runs home in this inning already. But they had runners at second and third. Nobody out a moment ago. Now 1 out. I mean, at this point, they'd be disappointed if they only get 3 runs. Melvin Mora. That slider off the outside. Mora reached on an infield hit his first time.
We have not seen Pedro throw many curveballs and breaking balls. And I think that he needs to throw more. I mean, that's part of who he is. He's been basically using the fastball and the changeup.
Mora backs away. Here's Terry Francona. Pedro's thrown 37 pitches already and is working with only 1 out here in the 2nd inning. He's faced 10 hitters and has retired only 3 of them. That is a called strike on the breaking ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Meanwhile, Sidney Ponson, the beneficiary of this offense, has the 3-run lead.
And that's nothing new for him. He had a lot of run support when he was here last year.
On the outside corner with a fastball. 1 and 2. Pedro seems to have a little more zip in that fastball now.
Definitely better location.
That is Bigby at third base. He runs well. Matos at second base. He has speed on the fists, and Mora fights it off.
That was supposed to be the pitch he put him away with, but he did not just turn it loose. He kind of aimed that fastball like he was trying to make sure he got it up and in. And he did get it up and in, but it wasn't the same velocity or the movement that he needed.
Runners at second and third, 1 out. And that fastball outside and high. 2 and 2 the count. Cold night in Baltimore. You see Pedro blowing in his hand before every pitch. Mora the hitter, and there is Miguel Tejada on deck. Palmeiro behind him, and he changed up for the strikeout.
I was wondering if they were going to explain to Mora you only get 3 strikes.
Number 10.
That's a 2-2 fastball, changeup, but again, not a great location. I think the speed fooled him. We saw Matos hit a changeup line to left field for a base hit. That one he was out in front of.
Yeah, I was sure it's strike 3, and I was about to say, and then when he just stood there, I started thinking about, do I have the count right?
Well, being honest with you, John, I think maybe he thought, how did I miss that pitch? Because it was a changeup and it was up a little bit.
Yeah, maybe he wanted a do-over.
Yeah.
Miguel Tejada, runners at second and third, 2 down. And that was the 30th pitch of the inning thrown by Pedro Martinez.
And this is a very key hitter because, as you said, if he can get out of the inning only giving up 3 runs, he will have done a fantastic job. And you do not figure that the Boston Red Sox are going to get shut down.
Tejada, a pop-up foul. Millar runs out of room. Yeah, this Red Sox team was the highest scoring team in the majors last year.
So you figure they are at least going to score 2 or 3 runs in this ball game. And if he can just get out of this inning, they'll feel pretty good about themselves.
I mean, they were such a high scoring team last year. If you only gave up 2 or 3, I think you got credit for a shutout.
Yeah.
You see some of the things the Red Sox did last year. They were one of the great slugging teams of all time last year. The highest slugging percentage of any team in Major League history. Of course, all the teams in history didn't have the designated hitter.
True.
But be that as it may, there have been a lot of teams with the DH, and the Red Sox outslugged them all.
I think that should be an American League record.
All right.
Yeah, let's just, you and I, we'll do that.
Such a purist. Tejada leans back for that one. Tejada hit a pop fly to shallow right center his first time. He's trying to come up with a big hit here. And it's funny, here they had 3 runs. They had Pedro on the ropes. The bullpen was getting ready. But now 2 men out. Those runners still out there at second and third. It's going to be a huge disappointment for the Orioles if they don't get these other guys in here. Back out of play. 2 and 2 now.
And what you see now is you see Veritek going out. I think what he's saying to Pedro, you have pretty good stuff, but you're missing your location. You got to concentrate on hitting the glove, hitting the target, because that was supposed to be a fastball in to Tejada, and he got it out over the plate. We've seen him make some mistakes over the plate. It's been location that's gotten him in trouble so far here in this ball game.
And that's not just with his pitching. That's even when he's making throws on ground balls. I mean, his own throwing error was a huge play in this inning. Tejada Right center field. Damon going back. The wind holding this one up. And he's got it.
And that's a tough play right there for Johnny Damon.
3 runs in, 3-0. Baltimore could have been a lot worse. Now stay tuned. Sam Ryan standing by with the Commissioner of Baseball, Bud Selig, when we come back to Baltimore.
The Fannie Mae Foundation, showing America a new way home.
I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan and Sam Ryan. We're at Camden Yards in Baltimore. The Orioles 3, the Red Sox 0 as we start the 3rd inning. Mark Bellhorn hitting 8th in the order, then Pokey Reese and Johnny Damon to follow. And Sidney Ponson, the Baltimore starter, now with a lead, misses with the ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bellhorn in there at second base because of Nomar Garcia Parra's injury. Nomar is likely to miss all of April. That's off the outside. 2-1 the count. So Bellhorn at second and Pokey Reese has moved to shortstop. But the lineup looks considerably different. I mean, they're not only without Nomar, they're without Trot Nixon, who had 29 homers last year. And Todd Walker, the regular second baseman of a year ago, is now with the Cubs. Deep center. That one hit well. And caught on the warning track by Matos. Three runs, 5 hits, and 1 error for Baltimore. No runs, 1 hit, 1 error for the Red Sox. The Orioles have roughed up Pedro Martinez. He made that 1 big throwing error in the 3-run second inning. But 5 hits in those first 2 innings. On the other hand, Joe, Pedro could have been gone. And he got out of a second and third, nobody out situation where it looked like a sure thing Baltimore would get at least 1 more, and they didn't get any more. We'll see if that turns this whole game around.
Well, and that's the key. I mean, good pitchers know how to pitch out of trouble. And Pedro's definitely one of the better pitchers in the game.
Pokey Reese, the hitter, 2-0 the count to him. Pedro's thrown 47 pitches in the first 2 innings of this game. A 34 pitch second inning for Pedro. We mentioned the Commissioner of Baseball is here tonight. Let's go to Sam Ryan.
Thanks a lot, John. On opening night here in Baltimore, Commissioner Selig, but the season opened overseas last week in Japan. Plenty of criticism, though. What does the future hold for openers overseas?
Well, there was some criticism, but I'm really very happy. It was a great trip. Both managers, Joe Torre and Lou Piniella, told me had been a great thrill for them. I know the players enjoyed it. We have a very, very good relationship with the Japanese, and the internationalization of our sport is very important to us, and we're going to do a lot of that. And so we opened, but all the other clubs now have their home openers. The Tampa has their home opener, and then the Yankees, of course, come home to have their opener. So the future holds quite a bit of that, and we're going to try to move opening day around, frankly, various parts of the world.
And a team which may be moving around the Montreal Expos. We're in Baltimore, not too far from Washington, D.C., a possible site. Now, what needs to get done to have a decision made by July, by the All-Star break?
Well, the relocation committee, of which I've assigned that task, has been viewing all the areas, including Washington, Northern Virginia, and all the other areas that are competing for the team. And they're just sifting through a lot of information. The task has taken longer, but I keep saying to them it's better to get it done right rather than get it done and then regret having moved faster than we should. This is a big decision, but we're very hopeful by midsummer we'll have a permanent home for the Montreal club, and we should have, by the way.
Now, it's a touchy situation with the Orioles, who oppose a move to D.C. if that is in the future. Have you spoken to Peter Angelos?
Well, I think it's unfair to say that the Orioles oppose it. They have strong views. There's no question that moving a team into the Washington area would hurt them. But Peter Angelos has been great with me. He has never really commented to me, never had any discussion. We're going to have to do what we think is best for baseball. I am always concerned about moving a team into another team's market and what effect that may have. So obviously that's a factor, but the relocation committee, as I said, was going to sift through everything, and then they'll come back to me with a recommendation. But they're a few months away from that, Jim.
Now, Commissioner Selig, it's unfortunate that we're here opening night and the steroid issue is still front page headlines. It's all over the place. It's taken on a life of its own. How has that affected your stewardship?
Well, You know, every commissioner has an ongoing set of problems. I'm very concerned about it. I think my public comments have shown the true sentiments. After all, I instituted a very tough program in the minor leagues in 2001. After a year or two of study and talking to a lot of medical experts. And so I understand and have grave concerns about it. The 2002 labor agreement, which was historic in many ways, but had a drug testing component for the first time in history, was a first step. But a lot has happened since then, and so it's a problem that we need to address. We are addressing it, and we will continue to until we get the problem solved.
You talk about the first step. What is the next step? Well,
that's to be determined. Obviously, there's dialogue going on between the Players Association and our people, and that will continue. And frankly, as I said in Washington a couple weeks ago and in Tokyo last week, we need a zero tolerance policy, and we need year-round random testing. We need a series of things. And so until we have those things, frankly, I won't be satisfied.
And you do have dialogue with the Players Union right now?
Yes, there is ongoing dialogue.
Commissioner Seelig, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure to be here tonight.
All right, Sam Ryan with the Commissioner of Baseball. Bud Selig, Johnny Damon, the hitter, with a runner at first and 1 out. Damon 0 for 1 in the game. Bill Miller on deck, 3-0. The Orioles leading the Red Sox. Pokey Reese is the runner at first. There is Miller on deck. Sidney Ponson, the pitcher for Baltimore. Well, I know the commissioner has proposed instituting the same testing program that they have in the minor leagues for the big league level. I mean, it's a shame that the relationship is such between baseball and the Players Association that a call can't just be made and have a conversation and get it done. There's just a lot of mistrust between the two sides. Ponson hits the runner, and he's out. The plate umpire, Rick Reed, making the call that Damon was inside the line. He's got to be within that 3-foot box, and he was inside the line. Ponson hit him with a throw, and therefore Damon is out. And here comes Terry Francona, the Boston manager.
Well, the rule says that you have to be within that box if a play is being made on you. You do not have to run within that box if you hit a single to right field, which we obviously see runners outside of the box. But if a play is being made on you, you have to be inside that box. You can't. See, you see where he's running well inside the line, and you can see again he's back inside the line again, and that's a correct call. See, there's a play being made on him, so he has to run outside that line. He can't be inside the fair territory.
And Rick Reed, the home plate umpire, made that call. He's talking to Francona right there, but I mean, Reed followed the play right up the line. He was right on top of that play. So 2 men are gone, and Bill Miller comes up. Damon was not happy about the call.
And of course, the runner has to go back to first base.
I told Damon before the game, Joe, I said, you know, with your hair and your beard and everything, not that I'm saying it's a bad look for you, but you don't look fast now. Right? Damon's a fast guy, but he doesn't look fast.
Well, a lot of players do not understand that rule. You see Johnny Damon trying to explain it, because basically what he's saying is, where am I supposed to run? Yeah. But if a play is being made from behind you, you have to get inside the line. I mean, inside the box. You cannot be running in fair territory.
Well, and it's a weird rule in that the base itself, where you are running, that's your destination, is in fair ground.
Right.
And he was right on the way to that. But when the play's be made on him like that, he's not entitled to be right there.
Yeah. See, he can run out here. You just can't run inside the fair territory, because when a play has been made on you, see, the pitcher has no place to throw the ball. A good job by Palmeiro to try to get to the inside and give him a target, but he just could not, because Damon was so far inside the line, inside fair territory.
Now, I don't know if Ponson meant to hit him with the throw, but it might have been just the best thing.
Yeah, well, at that point, I mean, he was blocked. And the worst thing would have been if he doesn't make a throw, he's not going to be called out.
Or if he tried to make a throw, say, to the outside or whatever, and might have thrown it away, he might not have gotten the call. Tough breaking ball there. The check swing by Miller, and on appeal, Martinez, the third base umpire, says no swing.
John, we were talking about the steroid situation. I think the good thing out of that conversation that I gathered is that there is ongoing dialogue between the commissioner and the Players Association.
Shallow left field. That's falling in a hurry, and it's in there in front of Bigby. Base hit. So Miller bloops a single. And Pokey Reese over the second. Here comes Manny Ramirez. By the way, many of you perhaps have been watching the first game of tonight's women's Final Four in the NCAA. Tennessee beat LSU, and Tennessee's in the final. Still to come, Minnesota and UConn. The winner of that will face Tennessee on Tuesday night. Meanwhile, I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan and Sam Ryan. We're at Camden Yards in Baltimore. And that vaunted Red Sox offense is going to have to affect a comeback tonight. They're down 3-0. Pedro Martinez getting touched up for 3 in the second. Boston with its big slugger up there now, Manny Ramirez, and Ponson misses with that slider way outside. Javi Lopez, the first pitch that he sees as a member of the Orioles, he hits for a home run. Rafael Palmeiro on his first at bat got a base hit to left. The first batter of the game, Johnny Damon, hit a ground ball to Miguel Tejada, another one of the new Orioles. They've all made their presence felt already in this game. Manny Ramirez, who could have been an Oriole, could have been with any ball club. He was out there for the taking, put on waivers, but now here he is trying to help the Red Sox win. Joe, you were starting to talk about the Players Association.
Well, I said I'm just glad that they are having dialogue, because I think both parties realize that there is a problem, you know, a perception of a problem, let's put it that way, with the fans. And I think the fans have to be convinced that the game is clean, and that's what's good about it, you know, that they are talking.
Because as Sam said to the commissioner, it has taken on a life of its own. I mean, it's all out there, and it's not going away. I mean, some sort of proactive move by baseball in conjunction with the Players Association would seem to be in order. I mean, nobody's calling me and asking me, but if they do, that's what I'll tell them. A ball and a strike to count. But as you say, that it's a very good sign. As he said, they are dialoguing about it.
Well, the good point is they both realize there's a problem. You know, that's the thing. If one party thinks there's a problem, the other does not, that's when you have real tough negotiation, a real problem. But since I think everyone realizes that something needs to be done, I think something will get done. Great pitch.
Breaking ball on the outside, 2-2 to Manny Ramirez.
And the reason that was a great pitch, that's the first time he's thrown him a breaking ball in this game. He's gone inside with the fastball. He's run the ball away. He's thrown all the other pitches, and that's the first time Manny has seen that pitch.
Well, this is a big moment for Ponson, who's just been staked to a 3-0 lead. He's got 2 men on, 2 men out. The great slugger, Ramirez at the plate, Ortiz on deck. And many in the crowd here at Camden Yards now, vocalizing. Right back up the middle. Through, base hit into center field. Pokey Reese is in to score. Miller stops at second. And Manny Ramirez, as he's done so many times over the years, comes through, knocking in a run. It is 3-1 Baltimore.
I saw a poll that said Manny Ramirez is the toughest out in the game. And you see, that's a good pitch there by Ponson. Right on the outside edge, and what does he do with it? Right back through the middle. And I mean, the reason is there's not a way to pitch him. A lot of hitters' weakness is inside, a lot of hitters' weakness outside, or off-speed pitches, etc. Manny does not have a weakness. He can handle all the pitches in all the zones.
So Ponson allowed one of those runs back, and it started with when he walked the 9th place hitter, Pokey Reese. Pokey has turned that into a run as Ortiz fouls one out of play. Ortiz struck out his first time. He had a protracted battle with Ponson. This time he broke his bat apparently, or cracked it. I guess cracking it's the same as breaking it. So he's going to get a new piece of wood. While he does, we want to tell you we got a lot more baseball, a lot more openers tomorrow. We'll check in with the Chicago Cubs. Joe and I will be in Cincinnati for the Reds opener. Kerry Wood for the Cubs, Corey Lytle for the Reds. Griffey should be in the lineup 2 o'clock Eastern time. Then on ESPN2, the Phillies and the Pirates. Many favor the Phillies in the National League. Kevin Millwood against Kip Wells at Pittsburgh. And then tomorrow, Barry Bonds and the Giants against Roy Oswalt in Houston. They've never had such excitement going into a season as they've had in Houston with the new Astros rotation. Giants, Astros, Kirk Reeder, Oswalt, 7 Eastern on ESPN2. Then the Rangers in Oakland. Kenny Rogers and Tim Hudson as Buck Showalter's ball club up against the Athletics and that great rotation. Here's the ball to Ortiz. 1 ball, 1 strike. Barry Bonds playing in Houston tomorrow night up against Oswalt. And 2 home runs back of his godfather, Willie Mays, on the all-time list. There's Javi Lopez. He has homered tonight on the first pitch. He's only seen 1 pitch as a member of the Orioles. Ortiz with a soaring pop-up. Mora battling to win now. And after a long run, he gets to it, and the inning is over. Boston gets 1 of the runs back. It is 3-1. Palmeiro and then Javi Lopez coming up. Rafael Palmeiro leads off for the Orioles. Last of the third. 3-1. The Orioles are leading the Red Sox. The shift is on in the infield as Palmeiro lifts one to right field. Drifting back is Kapler. Still going back, and on the warning track, he makes the catch. Palmeiro with just a little flick of the wrist that time, and he sent it back to the warning track. Here's Javi Lopez. He's seen 1 pitch tonight. The first pitch seen as an Oriole. And here's what happened.
Well, it was a high fastball, and he hit a line drive right inside the foul pole down the left field line. That's out of here immediately. And deep, too.
And that's a called strike to Lopez. You know, that home run kind of reminded me one of the great nights in the history of this ballpark. 1995, the night Cal Ripken broke Lou Gehrig's consecutive game record. Cal hit a home run down that left field line.
He hit a lot of home runs down the left field line, but I understand that historic evening it meant a little bit more.
Cal homered the night that he tied Gehrig's record, and then he homered again the night that he broke Gehrig's record. The ball on a strike to Javi Lopez, and the curveball way outside. Back to the screen.
Well, we talked about the fact he had not thrown a lot of curveballs. He mixed in a couple of last inning, but you can see that he does not have control of his curveball, and that was one of the things I said at the beginning. He can't just throw fastballs and changeups. He needs that third speed if he doesn't have an overpowering fastball.
3-1. That one clocked at 86 miles an hour. Three and 1 the count. Ooh, he kind of left that one out there to be hit hard.
Yeah. Again, he doesn't have great location, you know, but again, this is his first start of the season. The adrenaline's flowing. A lot of times you're just a little erratic at the beginning.
And it's freezing out there.
Well,
I mean, it's cold.
I didn't want to mention that. Good pitch.
Off Pedro, and that's going to be an infield hit. Bill Miller thought about it, then said, hey, well, there's no point. So he held on, and Javi Lopez gets his second hit.
Well, that was a good pitch. This pitch is right on the outside corner, maybe even off the edge, but it's right up. Veritex sets outside. Look at that. Off the outside corner, in fact. That was a very good pitch, and good hitting there by Javi Lopez. That shows you the plate coverage that he has. And most hitters, remember, you don't just cover the outside edge. You cover 4 to 6 inches off the outside corner. And that's what Javi Lopez did there.
That is the 6th hit for the Orioles. And here is Jay Gibbons. He singled to right his first time. After Lopez homered leading off the second, Gibbons followed with a single, starting another rally in that inning. They scored 3 in the inning.
Well, last time up, he threw Gibbons a low changeup, and he is a very good low ball hitter.
Gibbons, who grew up in Los Angeles, and he was a great Dodger fan as a kid. And I asked him who his favorite players were, and he first guy mentioned Steve Garvey. I guess if you were a Dodger fan when Garvey played, then you had to be a fan of Garvey.
Well, he played every day, drove in 100 runs, hit 300, very good player, won Gold Gloves.
Another guy I mentioned was Pedro Guerrero. There's one at second. Pokey back to first. A double play. And that's it for the Orioles. We head to the fourth inning now. Millar, Kapler, and Varitek coming up. 3-1. Baltimore leading the Red Sox. Inning number 4. Sidney Ponson to Kevin Millar, and that is a called strike. Millar grounded out to short his first time. Gabe Kapler and Jason Varitek to follow. Center field. Going back on that one is Matos. And right at the edge of the warning track for out number 1. Now the wind's going to be doing different things at any time during the ball game, but during batting practice, the wind was blowing in here and swirling around inside the ballpark. Right field, the ball was just getting knocked down something terrible. Nobody could hit a home run to right field. Palmeiro told me after his BP, he said, I didn't hit a single ball out to right field. They said the ball was carrying to left center. At that time, Kapler too high from Ponson. 1 ball, no strikes. Kapler was safe on the error charged to Melvin Mora his first time. Kapler in right field rather than Trot Nixon, who's on the disabled list.
And if you're the Red Sox, you have to have some concern the fact that Garciaparra and Trot Nixon are both out of the lineup. And this is a very good hitting lineup, as we discussed earlier. But you're going to be playing the Orioles 7 times, the Yankees 7 times, and the Toronto Blue Jays 6 times, while those guys are on the disabled list.
All just in the month of April.
Yeah. So you're going to be less than full strength playing against your toughest competitors.
That's inside for a ball. Although Theo Epstein, the Red Sox general manager, made a good point about that. He said, you know, last year the Yankees lost Derek Jeter opening day, and they went 18-3 to start the season. So,
well, I don't think you should want to try that. I don't think the Yankees would want to try that again.
No.
It just happened that way last year.
See, Nomar, that right Achilles tendon problem. Nixon, the lower back problem. Also, Byung Hyun Kim on the disabled list, and that's a single to right for Kapler. Roberts made a dive for it, but it was futile. That was on through. So Kapler gets the ball. Boston's 4th hit of the game. What a cold night in Baltimore. You know, this game, though, 2 things happened after Baltimore put 3 runs on the board and had runners at second and third with nobody out. Pedro shut them down at that point. Clutch pitching after they'd scored the 3 runs. And then immediately the Red Sox turned around and got one of those runs right back in their next at bat. And this crowd was all revved up, and the Red Sox quieted them down in a hurry. Almost as if the crowd itself sensing that maybe Baltimore let a great opportunity to wrap this one up early get away.
It's not always a home run that excites your team or, you know, gets the adrenaline flowing. Sometimes it's a great pitching performance, as Pedro showed there, to get out of that jam. That inspires your teammates as well as, you know, somebody hitting a home run.
So Pedro, I mean, it's not what he's used to, not used to getting roughed up and then pitching beautifully. But he's kept his club in this game, that's for sure.
John, we were doing this last year's 7th game when they did lose to the Yankees. And what I was so impressed with that night was the affection that his teammates showed for him, meaning Pedro. Remember when he came off the field, Nomar hugged him, all the guys went over and hugged him. They showed a lot of affection for Pedro, which told me that they really like to get behind this guy.
That's Tejada, and Varitek is retired. Varitek, who struck out into a double play his first time. Kapler holding it first 2 down.
Number 12, Mark Bellhorn.
Pedro Martinez had that 5-2 lead in the 8th inning of Game 7 at Yankee Stadium. He had thrown 100 pitches through the first 7 innings and got the first batter of the 8th inning out, but then Derek Jeter hit a double with 1 out, and Pedro never got another out in that game. And by the time Grady Little, then the manager, did take Pedro out of the game, the Yankees had tied the score. And the Yankees eventually lost that game. Grady Little eventually, or the Red Sox eventually lost that game to the Yankees. Grady Little eventually resigned as manager of the Red Sox, and just a whole chain of events were set in motion by the result of that game. That's a called strike. Pedro himself, when he got to spring training this year, seemed to speak at greater length about what went on. Pedro indicated that when Grady Little went to the mound the first time, that he thought Grady wanted just to pitch to one more batter, which was going to be Hideki Matsui. That ball is hammered down the right field line by Bellhorn. Into the corner it goes. Gibbons plays the carom. He throws in towards second base. That was a risky throw. He did not pick up his relay man, but instead threw to second. It's a double for Bellhorn. Kepler had already been held up at third base.
Yeah, that's one of those where a great base runner using his own instincts without the third base coach could probably score, because the throw should have gone towards home plate, because this is a double. You can't get the guy at second base, but you see the cutoff man going out here. That's the guy you're supposed to hit. And if he continues on, I mean, he would have been able to score easily, as you can see there.
I mean, that's a general rule of thumb for an outfielder, right? You pick up your cutoff man.
Right, exactly.
They make the job easy for you. You don't have to think too much. Just find him and throw to him.
Right.
Well, he got away with it. Here's Pokey Reese. A base hit could tie this game. Back to the screen, and it's 0-1. Son came after him with the high fastball. First extra base hit of the season for the Red Sox. Mark Bellhorn. Bellhorn made this club in the spring. And Nomar being hurt might have been one of the reasons, but 2 years ago with the Cubs, Bellhorn hit 27 home runs, playing second base, third base, and even some shortstop. That slider misses down and away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Pokey got a 1-out walk from Ponson in the third inning, and then scored a run later. Orioles 3, Red Sox 1. We're in the top of the 4th inning. Pokey Reese bunting with 2 down. And the underhanded throw by Ponson, dug out of the dirt by Palmeiro. Pokey trying to surprise him with a bunt, but Ponson able to handle it. And the threat has gone. Major League Baseball's opening night. The Red Sox trailing the Orioles 3-1 into the last of the 4th inning. Baltimore coming up here at Camden Yards. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan and Sam Ryan. Cal Ripken here tonight, the Iron Man, and we're hoping to chat with Cal a little bit later in the telecast. Stay tuned for that as David Segui pops out to the second baseman Bellhorn. 1 away. Rick Dempsey, the first base coach for the Orioles, former catcher, is wearing a microphone tonight for MLB Wired. Take a listen.
That damn thing was behind you. Where'd he get you, in the back of the shoulder? Back of the shoulder. You know, he's going to go wide on you, too. You know, out here. Don't get yourself caught double play, you know. Come on, come on, come on. Stay here, stay here. You never know what's going to happen. You got to keep running hard, man. A lot of wind out here. Attaboy. Come on now.
Larry Bigby, the hitter, first ball swinging against Pedro, and he's gone. So Pedro has thrown a lot of pitches early in this game. Gets a couple of quick outs here to start the 4th inning. Bottom of the 4th, the Orioles leading the Red Sox 3-1. We're at Camden Yards in Baltimore. The Boston Red Sox playing their opener. However, for several days, they've already been 1 game ahead of the Yankees in the loss column. Here's Luis Matos. He's first ball swinging, and he didn't get it. 0-1.
You know, it's interesting. We had those sounds from Rick Dempsey. Rick Dempsey and Eddie Murray were the finalists, along with Mazzilli for the managerial job here.
And Sam Perlazzo also got interviewed.
And it was interesting. I was trying to find today to just find out what separated them, all of them, because I think it would be interesting to know. Because all the other ones actually were basically in the Orioles organization.
Yeah, and Oriole ties.
Yeah.
But Lee Mazzilli, you know, the sports cartoonist here, Mike Rosigliano, had a cartoon today wondering if maybe history would repeat itself. They had a former Yankee who came in as manager in 1966, Hank Bauer. And he had a lot of young starting pitchers, including a guy named Jim Palmer, who was 20 years old. And they won the World Series that year with all those young starters.
I saw that as a real stretch, though, John, but go ahead.
Well, if they do it, he'll have been the first to have brought up the comparison. Yeah. To say, hey, could history repeat itself? Matos strikes out, and Pedro Martinez is starting to look like Pedro now. 19 pitches thrown the last 2 innings. 3-1 Baltimore. Top of the order coming. Damon Miller and baseball's opening night, presented by the Home Depot. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan and Sam Ryan. The 15th season of Major League Baseball on ESPN. A lot more games for you tomorrow. A lot of openers. Joe and I will be in Cincinnati. Ken Griffey Jr. and the Reds up against the Chicago White Sox. Dusty Baker's the White Sox. I need to go back to spring training. The Chicago Cubs. Sorry, Dusty. The Cubs and the Reds tomorrow with Kerry Wood on the mound for Chicago. It's the Chicago I need to drop. Just the Cubs. And Johnny Damon thrown out. He's now 0 for 3. 3 groundouts against Sidney Ponson. Let's go to Sam Ryan.
And John, you mentioned Sidney Ponson from the island of Aruba. Not exactly a hotbed for baseball talent. Now, Sidney Ponson, just one of a handful from a small island to play in the majors. He's trying to increase its popularity back home. Now, he started up an adult amateur league a few years back, takes part in celebrity softball games on the island. Just last year, he became an Aruban Knight, knighted by Queen Beatrix of Holland for his services to the island. Aside from different pitches, he's got a few different languages. How about 5 of them, John? English, Dutch, Spanish, Portuguese, and the ever so popular Papamiento.
Sidney is a very well-spoken guy in many, many different languages. Base hit for Bill Miller into left field, his second hit of the game. So the batting champion of the American League, 2 for 3 tonight.
Number 24, the left fielder, Manny Ramirez.
Take a look at Ponzon's good movement on the sinking fastball. Bill Miller likes the ball out over the plate, though, as a left-handed hitter. And he does what he often does with that pitch, slaps it to left field.
Well, he got a bloop single in the left field in the third. Now let me slap. It was a solid slap, though.
Yeah. Well, Barry Bonds used to call him our little Ted Williams when he was with the Giants. Barry was a big fan of Bill Miller's.
Here's Manny Ramirez, 2 for 2 with an RBI in this game, and that's a foul out of play into the upper deck. 3-1, the Orioles leading the Red Sox here in the top of the 5th inning.
And already in this ball game, Manny Ramirez has showed you why he is such a great hitter. I mean, he's had 2 strikes on him a couple of times, and he has just hit whatever the pitcher has given him. He's taken that and he shot a single to right field and hit another one right back through the middle. He is just an excellent hitter.
Miller back to the bag at first. Miller, when he was with the Giants, they won a division title in 1997. It was the first year that he really became a regular player. And he sort of personified how they played the game then. He was almost like the mascot of that team. Uniform always dirty. And that's a ball down and away. Total team player all the way around. Bill Miller, who you mentioned Barry Bonds. Bill Miller is married to the daughter of Barry's old high school coach. It's almost like part of Barry's family now. That fastball is at the knees for a strike. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Manny, and he is asking Rick Reed if maybe that pitch might have been a little bit too low.
One of the things you can watch with a great hitter is how he takes a pitch. I mean, Manny was completely in balance there. Everything was ready to go. He just thought the pitch was low.
1 out, 1 on here in the 5th. Coming hard in center, Matos. Miller will have to go back to first. Matos sort of behind him. Man, pretty good throw right there. Miller just barely made it back.
And a good pitch there by Ponson. He ran the fastball in on the hands of Manny Ramirez. He tried to get him out with a fastball away the first time up. He singled to right, and then he hit the outside edge before, and watch, he gets in on his hands right here. Ball tails in just enough that Manny hits it off the hands a little bit. One thing about Manny, you can never tell if he got a hit this last swing or whether he made an out. He just keeps that same calm about him, and that's why he's such a good hitter.
Here's Ortiz, and he fouls one that will go out of play off to the left. Ortiz has struck out, and he has popped out to third. Three to one. The Orioles lead the Red Sox here at Camden Yards, the ballpark that really sort of revolutionized baseball architecture.
Correct.
This park opened in 1992, and right out there somewhere in shallow right center field, Babe Ruth used to live as a kid. I mean, the Babe himself on these very grounds. If he used to play some stickball, play catch, who knows what all. The house where the Babe was born is just a couple of blocks from here, and there's a statue commemorating Babe Ruth right out behind center field on Utah Street. Ooh, look out. And that got him. That hard-breaking ball from Ponson, and it got David Ortiz. So he'll be awarded first base. Miller moves to second, and now Kevin Millar will come up to try and do some damage. Lee Mazzilli. His ball club had a great opportunity in that second inning. They scored 3 runs. Pedro hit a batter. Pedro made a throwing error. They stole 2 bases, but they only got to 3 runs.
And as we've so often said, if you do not get a good pitcher early and let him get into a groove, you may never touch him again. And since that time, Pedro has been throwing the ball much better.
He's gone completely one time through the order, and has allowed only 1 infield hit since the second and third nobody out jam after the 3 runs it scored in the second. Javi Lopez got an infield single that was hit back at Pedro and hit off his glove, and that's the only man to reach base. And then Javi was erased in a double play. So here's Millar taking a strike, and quickly he's behind Ponson, 0-2. Well, there's Utah Street, and our intrepid hand-operated cameraman is on his way toward Babe's statue out there that we were talking about. Steve Angel on his way out there on what we call the Utah Street corridor here at Camden Yards. 0-2 the count to Millar, and he struck him out. Blew him away with a fastball to the outside. And Millar is 0 for 3. Talking about the Babe at Camden Yards. How about Cal Ripken, the Iron Man at Camden Yards? Cal will be with us in the booth when we come back. Now the Orioles here at Camden Yards coming up against Pedro Martinez, 3-1. The Orioles are leading the Red Sox. John Miller, Joe Morgan, Sam Ryan with you, and we've been joined by the great, the Iron Man, longtime Orioles shortstop, played here for what, 100 years. And Cal Ripken is here with us as Roberts hits one on the ground to Pokey Reese. And Cal is a longtime shortstop. What about Pokey at shortstop?
Well, I mean, it seems like he could play any position in the field. He's got great hands, great arm, great instincts. I saw that play where he instinctively went over and covered third early in the game and made the last out on Melvin. Now,
could you have made a play like that?
I would have had to get 2 more steps ahead of him to get over there, because I don't possess the same kind of leg speed. But he certainly knew what was going on, and he positioned himself and put him in a position to get the out. Turned out to be a bad base running play for us, but those kind of plays get you out of the inning and get you in the dugout so you can score some runs.
More of the hitter. He's 1 for 2. What about this Oriole ball club? What do you think? Can they be good?
You know, there's a lot of excitement around the ballpark that hasn't been here in a while. And coming out to opening day, their offense, I talked to Terry Crowley before the game started. He says we have a lot of offensive weapons. There's a lot of ways we can score runs. We can score with a home run. And there's some proven hitters in that lineup. So yeah, they have an imposing lineup.
2-1 to Mora. And Mora's one of those guys who figures to get on base a lot in front of all the power hitters.
Well, he stands right there on home plate. Seems to get hit quite a bit, and it doesn't seem to bother him, but he battles, sticks his nose in there. Had a great year last year.
His on-base percentage last year was .418, which is excellent, as we all know.
Back to the screen. Still 2 balls, 2 strikes. By the way, Cal is here with us, and Cal, maybe you thought, you know, Cal played the game the way it should be played, and he's got a book out now called Play Baseball the Ripken Way. Random House Publishing. It actually comes out tomorrow. But we got an early copy.
We start the book tour tomorrow. It's a 3-week grueling trip. You'll be sick of me talking about the book by then.
The Ripken Way, and that is strike 3 called to Melvin Moore. But I know your dad, Cal Ripken Sr., a coach, manager in the minors, a coach with the Orioles in the big leagues, an Oriole manager, and I know he taught you the game, and there was a way to play the game.
Well, absolutely. Dad was always the greatest instructor to us. We thought he was the encyclopedia of baseball. And growing up, you realize that all kids don't have the encyclopedia of baseball as a dad. So how do they learn baseball? So Billy and I sat down and we tried to take a lot of the principles that Dad passed on to us. We, in turn, both had good big league careers, and we added a little bit to the teaching, and we're just trying to pass on the craft the same way that Dad did.
What did you put in there about playing every day? How does a kid prepare to play every day?
Well,
for 10 years or so.
It certainly comes from loving the game and wanting to come out there and showing up. It's less about. Oh, there's a nice full swing bunt.
Tejada, Pedro lets it roll, but it is a fair ball. Base hit for Miguel Tejada. His first hit as an Oriole. You know, you had just before the game, you were on the field for the ceremonies before the game, and you had a brief moment with Miguel Tejada.
Yeah. He was a little bit mad at me that I threw the first pitch kind of hard. But Terry Crowley, again, had a little small bet going on that I could throw the ball harder than Jim Palmer could. And he wanted to razz Jim a little bit. And I think I caught Miguel by surprise. I threw a little high fastball. And on a cold night tonight, when it hits the glove in the wrong way, it stings.
So you might have put the new Orioles shortstop on the DL before he ever played a game. Come on.
Well, he's working on your record anyway. He's 594. This is his 595th consecutive game.
See, I had a method to my madness. Yeah. I was trying to stop that streak right here, now.
Are you getting a little nervous? Because at this rate, Tejada will catch your record in 2016.
I always enjoyed how Miguel approaches the game, and he comes to the ballpark and wants to play every single day and wants to make a difference each and every day. So if he would happen to do that in that time frame, I would enjoy it every step of the way.
You remember, as we see Rafael Palmeiro, his Cal's number, retired out there on Utah Street.
Big Ed's right there.
Eddie Murray, number 33.
Frank Robinson, number 20. That's pretty cool.
You not only were
cool.
Cal was not only a great Oriole for many years, but he grew up rooting for the Orioles, grew up in this area.
Oh, yeah, 30 miles down the road. And it's every kid's dream to make it to the big leagues. And to make it for your hometown team and play your whole career here, that was very special, no doubt about it.
Now, when he was your teammate, Rafael Palmeiro, 10 years ago today, his first home opener, hit a home run.
He's one of the best clutch hitters that I've ever played with. He won more games with the home run, and he seems to perform in the big games. Opening day, he seems to have that ability just to focus in his concentration a little bit more. And he always had a real good idea of the strike zone. He has such a short swing. I'm surprised he hadn't hit one yet.
Are you going to be back in the game? Are you going to come to work for the Orioles? Are you going to ever be a GM or a manager, things like that?
Well, all those
Palmeiro gets a walk.
All those things interest me. You build your life in baseball and you pay attention to your student of the game. But right now, I am really enjoying the flexibility of my own life. I'm building skills, being out there, some of the projects that we're working on. But I really want to be home for my kids during this window of time. My daughter's 14, my son's 10. I didn't get a chance to have my dad watch me develop in those ages, playing youth sports, and I really want to be there for those years. So I'll keep an eye on things and maybe build a few more skill sets outside the game, and who knows, maybe I'll come back in some capacity, a manager, a coach, or just someone that likes the game.
Javier Lopez. I mean, you are very involved in the game, though, with the Class A ball club up in Aberdeen, your hometown, the Ironbirds. Joe, have you seen the Ironbirds play?
No, I haven't, but I was interested because he said they were trying to call them the Iron Men, but that was copyrighted, so they couldn't use it. So they're the Ironbirds.
We thought that was a clever way to get into to baseball.
Javier Lopez, who homered on the first pitch he saw as an Oriole. Shallow center. The wind is a problem, and Pokey Reese catches the ball, and then the right fielder Kepler catches him. Nice play by Pokey. You guys can appreciate it. Cal Ripken, thanks for being with us, Cal.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Good luck with the book.
ESPN 2's Opening Night Baseball, presented by the Home Depot. Brought to you by Harley Davidson. It's time to ride. And Gatorade Thirst Quencher. Gatorade, is it in you?
Oh, yeah. Now, that is a great night in Baltimore, Joe. Get a couple of dozen crabs, pitcher of beer. It doesn't get better than that.
Well, we have the crabs over here. We don't have the beer. So if you wanted to make a spread up here, I guess you could in between innings.
And
I'm not going to try it.
We're right here where the Babe used to cavort as a youth. The Babe, who played in the minor leagues for the old minor league Baltimore Orioles, who then sold him to the Boston Red Sox, where he began his big league career. Gabe Kepler with his second hit of the game. He's 2 for 3 now as we start the 6th inning. There's the Babe, the statue at the entrance to the Utah Street corridor, part of Camden Yards.
I have to tell you, that doesn't look like the Babe. I'm always used to the Babe in that pose where he's just hit one out and he's looking up as it travels out.
You would like to have seen him actually just finishing hitting one.
You know, yeah, there it is right there. See, that's what I'm used to. I'm used to seeing the Babe watch it fly out of the ballpark.
Well, see, for me personally,
yeah,
you know, I never actually saw Babe play.
And that ball almost came into the dugout, and John was running for cover. I was just going to let the fans know that.
Well, I thought you called for it.
Well,
I want to get out of your way. I'm a team player. Jason Varitek. That was pretty close up here.
Yes, it was.
Oh, man, right on the inside corner with a fastball from Ponzon. And it is 0-2. Thanks to Cal Ripken for stopping by. Cal, he owns this, or he's got part ownership of this ball club, the Ironbirds up in Aberdeen. They built a beautiful stadium up there. There's Rodrigo Lopez, the right-hander. Buddy Groom, the left-hander, warming up in the Baltimore bullpen. Ponzon, by the way, has thrown a lot of pitches in this game. He's got to be up around 100 pitches already. And it's only the 6th inning.
And, John, you were talking about the Aberdeen Ironbirds. I was talking to Elrod Hendricks today, and he said that Don Buford, former Oriole outfielder, is going to be the manager there this year.
Buford was one of the all-time best Orioles leadoff men. Guy with always had a high on-base percentage. Off the glove of Javi Lopez, holding it first. Kepler. Cal's also got a baseball school up there in Aberdeen. And this is what I really like, Joe. I wish we had more time to talk to him about it, because you know, Cal, he's written this book about playing baseball the Ripken way, but Cal is very involved in teaching the kids how to play the game and how to play it right. 2-2 the count to Jason Varitek. He has struck out into a double play and popped up to short. That could be 2. Roberts to second one. And the relay back from Tejada. Pulled out of the dirt by Palmeiro. Double play.
Well, Tejada is a very good on being the middleman on the double play. Very acrobatic at second base. He'll come flying across the bag, throw the ball in the air. This is pretty much just a normal play for him. And a nice scoop at first base by Palmeiro. Watch, he usually comes across flying in the air and throws while he's in the air, but
he made that one more routinely.
And that's the kind of play the top first baseman will make all the time. It can turn a game around.
Well, it's just like it's a regular play. And there's Tejada. And part of this is probably because he's, you know, working with a new second baseman and he hasn't learned him yet. Mark Ellison, he played together a lot in Oakland, and they knew each other's rhythms and knew where the ball was going to go. And that's something that I think is overlooked. When you change as a middle infielder, you have to learn to play with someone. You have to learn the timing they're going to have with you in a double play, how quickly they get the ball there, etc. And that was more of a cautious play from Tejada, because they probably haven't gotten completely comfortable together.
Jerry Hairston is also a second baseman here, and he's on the disabled list now.
Hairston, who broke a finger stealing a base in spring training in the first inning of the first spring training game. He stole second base, and then he stole third base. And one of the finger next to the little finger in his right hand got caught in the spike of the third baseman for Montreal, and he's on the disabled list and will miss all of this month. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan. Sam Ryan also here with us. We're at Camden Yards for baseball's opening night. The Baltimore Orioles leading the Red Sox and Pedro Martinez 3-1. Baltimore did all of its scoring a 3-run second inning. Javi Lopez homering on the first pitch that he ever saw as a member of the Orioles. And Pokey Reese takes the ball. Bellhorn at first now. Ponson has gone past 100 pitches. This might be his final inning. He's at 105 pitches for the game. Pokey Reese has walked and scored Boston's run. And then, interesting play, he was up with runners at second and third, where a base hit to the outfield could have tied the game in the fourth inning. And with 2 down, he bunted.
Well, and the interesting thing, John, is I think he was trying to bunt it down the third baseline, which he had a chance of being it out, but he ended up bunting it back toward the mound, and it was an easy play for Ponson.
And that's going to be back out of play for Pokey. 1 ball and 2 strikes. But even if he had beaten it out, he only would have gotten one of those runs home.
Yeah, but I think he was thinking it was early in the ball game. There's 2 outs and a base hit get us back within 1 run. You know, you can't, like a lot of times, if you're not a power hitter, you're not a big RBI man, you know, I don't think it hurts to think that way sometimes. I don't think that was the proper time to do it, but I don't think it hurts on occasion to think along those lines.
And that's too high to Pokey.
I must admit, I'm a little surprised at Pokey, because the first time I saw him play when he was with the Reds, and looked like he's obviously a great defensive player, and that's continued to improve. But I'm still surprised that he hasn't become a much better hitter, because I actually thought that he was going to be a very good hitter as well.
In 1 year, he hit pretty well, and has never been able to repeat that. Right field line. This is Gibbons. He runs out of room, and I think the wind blew that one right away from him. Still 2-2 the count. It is cold here in Baltimore tonight. The wind whipping around inside the ballpark here. The wind, according to the flags inside the ballpark, is not that hard, but when you see the flag up on top of a building downtown, at higher altitude, the wind is still blowing very hard.
Well, one of the reasons I thought Pokey would be a good hitter, John, is because the things that it takes to be a good hitter, hand-eye coordination, quick hands, you know, that's what he has as a defensive player. And all those things come into play when you're a hitter. And that's why I thought he would be a good hitter. I mean, you have to have good hands, good hand-eye coordination, quick hands to be as good as he is defensively. And that's one of the, you know, qualities that you have to have as a hitter.
3-2 to Pokey Reese. 2 down. Bellhorn runs, and Pokey walks. So maybe Ponson has about had it. With 2 down here in the 6th, he has walked the numbers 8 and 9 hitters. Lee Mazzilli talking to bench coach Sam Perlazzo. He's got Lopez, the right-hander, and Groom, the left-hander, and here comes Mazzilli. With 2 down in the 6th inning, Johnny Damon, a left-handed hitter, coming up. The switch-hitting Miller behind him. And the new Orioles manager, Mazzilli, heads out to the mound. He has not made a signal yet. And now he's made the call.
And I guess he's bringing in the left-hander because he pointed to the one on this side. He didn't use his left hand, but he pointed to the one on this side.
So Ponson retires. He leaves with a 3-1 lead, but with 2 men on. Johnny Damon coming up in the 6th. We'll be back. Home Depot. We're at Camden Yards in Baltimore. The 15th season of Major League Baseball coverage on ESPN. Tonight we're on The Views, ESPN 2. And the home team, the Baltimore Orioles, leading the Boston Red Sox 3-1. Here's Rodrigo Lopez, who's been a starter the last couple of years. Won 15 games 2 years ago. Had a very poor year last year. And then lost the job entirely this spring to a young lefty named Eric Bedard. And Joe, he had the lefty, Buddy Groom, warming up out there, and he's got a left-handed hitter coming up. So He goes to the right-hander. What's going on?
Well, first of all, I think he needs a little work on his calling to the bullpen. It looked like he was pulling the guy on this side, which was the left-hander, and then he finally motioned with the right-hander because it was a little confusing there. But it is shocking because he did have the left-hander up.
So Damon, a left-handed hitter, is going to face the right-hander, Rodrigo Lopez. Damon's never done well against Lopez, so maybe that's what he was thinking.
But I'm looking at the lineup, and you have Miller coming up next, and Ramirez, two other right-handers. Well, Miller being the switch hitter, of course.
It's Mark Wiley you saw in the Baltimore dugout. He's the pitching coach, like he was just on the phone to the bullpen. Ball one to Johnny Damon, who was grounded out 3 straight times. Ponzon handled him well. That's Bellhorn at second, Reese at first, each having walked. 2 on, 2 out. And that's a foul out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike. You know, Earl Weaver was here tonight as part of the pregame ceremonies. Lee Mazzilli should have gone to the man they used to call the Earl of Baltimore and said, give me the signs for signaling for a right-hander or signaling for a left-hander. Show me how you wore your hat kind of sideways when you had an argument with an umpire. That fastball a little bit high. 2-1 now to Damon.
You know, I was sitting here thinking, Johnny Damon could not have played for Sparky Anderson. With his hair and the beard and so forth, he couldn't have played for Sparky.
Well, last year when we saw the Red Sox in October, they were all shaving their heads, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if Damon gets off to a hot start or whatever, they might all adopt the Johnny Damon look. This is Damon that we saw last October and Damon now. You know, it makes me think, Joe, this might not even be Johnny Damon. You know what I'm saying? I mean, wait a minute. What happened to Johnny Damon? That's not Johnny. You know, we know Johnny. Well, he's 0 for 3. He's hit 3 groundouts. And if he doesn't get a hit this time, Joe, I'm thinking that beard may be gone before he gets back to center field. Softly hit. Tejada. Nice play. Last half of the 6th inning, Pedro Martinez trailing 3-1. Jake Gibbons leads off against him, the 6th base hitter in the Baltimore lineup. And that's ball 1. That's the 84th pitch thrown by Pedro. Before the game, Dave Wallace told our Sam Ryan that they were figuring maybe 90 pitches for Pedro tonight. There's Pokey Reese, and 1 away. Gibbons is now 1 for 3 in the game. Pokey Reese made quite a play when Javi Lopez was up there with 2 men on in the 5th inning to get the final out of the inning with the wind swirling around in here.
Watch how far he goes to make this play, and the wind swirling. I mean, he runs all the way into shallow right field from the shortstop position. And it's interesting because Pokey Reese was a shortstop when he first came up, John. He moved to second base because of Barry Larkin, and then he won Gold Gloves at second base.
David Segui, the hitter, taking ball 1 from Pedro Martinez. Actually, you know, I asked him about that because that's what I thought. Oh, and he was a shortstop.
Right.
But, well, here goes Pokey again. No, that time, Manny Ramirez bailed him out. I don't think even Pokey was going to be able to get to that one. But the fact that he was even in the discussion says a lot about the kind of territory this guy can cover.
But a good play there by Manny to run him off, because the outfielder, if he can get to the ball, he's supposed to take it, obviously, because he's coming forward, and much easier to catch the ball coming in than it is going back. You see Manny coming in, much easier play for Manny.
2 down. Here's Bigby.
And we mentioned that Manny played very good last year in the outfield, played great defense.
I asked Pokey when he first came up where he played, and he said, well, Barry Larkin was the shortstop and Brett Boone was the second baseman. So he played third base.
Yeah, he played third, but he was originally, like you said, shortstop.
I mean, they always had been the shortstop.
Yeah. It's a cute glove, a lot of string there. Look at that. Hanging down.
Three 3-0 now to Bigby. Luis Matos would be next. 2 down, nobody on here in the last of the 6th. The Orioles lead 3-1 over the Red Sox. Pokey actually injured himself making a diving play at third base that year. What 5-6 years ago. Pokey wearing a microphone tonight. That last play where he gave way to Manny Ramirez. It sounded to me like well, we'll have a listen here. It sounded like he wanted to catch that one. Here's a listen to that last play.
Again. Well, he did right. He called it, but he got out of the way because it's the outfielder's ball if he can take it.
And Bigby is called out on strikes. He did not like the call. So Pedro has settled in. Now to the 7th inning. Miller, Ramirez, Ortiz coming up. Now to the 7th inning. The Red Sox coming up. Bill Miller, Manny Ramirez, David Ortiz to try and do some damage here to Rodrigo Lopez. The Orioles are leading 3-1. And Lopez pours in a strike called, and it is 0-1. Miller's had 2 hits tonight as he begins the defense of his American League batting title a year ago. That's a changeup, a little bit low. You know, he won the batting title. He hit .326, and that's a fine year. He had a great year. But that's a fairly low batting average to win a batting title, at least nowadays.
In the American League, especially.
The last time there was an average lower than that to win the batting title was 1972. And he's got a base hit. He is 3 for 4. Welcome to Camden Yards for baseball's opening night. We're in Baltimore. It's cold. It doesn't feel like baseball season. Not here, not tonight. And for those of you who've been watching the women's Final Four, Minnesota and UConn at halftime. So welcome to Major League Baseball. UConn leading that basketball game over Minnesota at the half. The winner will play Tennessee in the final for the national championship on Tuesday.
The Lady Vols already clinched a place in the finals. How many times are UConn and Tennessee play for the championship? Seems like every year almost.
I mean, you don't know how many times?
No, I just watch.
I thought you followed sports.
I do watch. I just don't count. I just look at whatever the final score is.
You're not a stats guy. Manny Ramirez, the hitter, and he takes a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Manny has had 2 singles and a run batted in. He's 2 for 3. The Baltimore bullpen is busy. It's Manny Ramirez, the great RBI man, tries to make something happen. Red Sox playing without Nomar Garcia-Parra, and will probably all of this month at least. Back out of play. 1 ball and 2 strikes. In the Baltimore bullpen, the right-hander, number 47, Mike Dejan, the left-hander, Buddy Groom. I'm thinking Groom must be warmed up by now. He was warming up for most of the 6th inning.
Well, I guess you have David Ortiz coming up next. Maybe that's what Groom is getting ready for. That's who Groom is getting ready for.
Mike Timlin in the Boston bullpen getting ready. Maybe we've seen the last of Pedro.
Yeah, well, I saw Pedro shaking hands when he was going out, so that I'm sure Pedro's in the locker room already.
93 pitches for Pedro. And, you know, it didn't look like he was going to last very long in this game there for a while. But if they come back to win this game, it's because Pedro kept them in it when all looked lost back in the 2nd inning. 2-2 to Ramirez. And that's foul down the right field line. Pedro was down 3 runs. And there's what you're talking about between innings, Joe.
Yeah, he was going out, shaking hands with everyone.
Dave Wallace, the pitching coach, there with him. Terry Francona coming in the picture, the manager. So Pedro, only 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, 1 unearned run as a result of his own throwing error. 2-2 the count to Manny. Oh, on the fist, that could be 2. Roberts to second 1. Tejada to first. Double play.
That's That's the Tejada that I'm accustomed to seeing. He comes across the bag, shortens his throw, and gets rid of it quickly. He doesn't really turn his gun loose. He just gets rid of the ball quickly. Now watch where he takes this ball. He doesn't wait at the bag. So he comes across the bag, avoids the runner, and throws on the run. And watch this. He catches the ball on the first base side and gets rid of it quickly.
Big play there. So for the second consecutive inning, the Orioles turn a double play. And there's a ball too high to David Ortiz. Ortiz has struck out, popped out, and been hit by a pitch. Pedro gave up 3 in the second and had runners at second and third and nobody out with 3 runs already in and the top of the order coming up, and he did not allow anybody else to score, not in that inning, not in any inning for the rest of the game. I mean, if he had allowed just one of those runs to score, this thing looks a little bit different. Only one of the last 13 batters that Pedro faced in this game hit the ball out of the infield. He got 2 infield hits in the to the last 13 batters he faced. 2-1 the count now to David Ortiz.
One of the reasons that I think that Pedro is going to have a good year in the Red Sox as well is because the addition of Curt Schilling. I think Schilling is going to push Pedro to be, you know, the best pitcher he can possibly be. That friendly competition sort of thing between 2 aces on the staff.
Well, it seemed to work well in Phoenix.
Right.
Schilling and the big unit. I mean, what, for a couple of years there, you knew it was going to be one of them to win the Cy Young. It was just a question of which one. 3-1 the count. Ortiz hits a high drive down the right field line, hooking into the corner. That ball is a foul ball.
And that was a big fly foul ball. I mean, that was over the top of the foul pole. And hooking.
318 feet to the foul pole here in Baltimore.
I also think the wind blowing toward right field, you know, toward the corner there, helped push that ball foul. Because when we first hit it, I think he thought it was going to be a fair ball.
Had this been Fenway, it might have been a fair ball. It's only 302 feet to the foul pole there. I mean, he hit it plenty far enough for a home run in any ballpark, but might not have gone foul at Fenway. That foul pole is so close. Ortiz ends up getting a walk. And now Kevin Millar will come up. He is 0 for 3 in the game. Red Sox have 8 hits in this game, but 7 of them are singles. This team that had the highest slugging percentage ever last year has 7 singles and 1 double tonight. Millar doesn't have any of them. He's 0 for 3. And that is ball 1. Red Sox have stranded 9 runners in this game. And they've had 3 runners wiped out on double plays. 2 ground ball double plays and 1 a strikeout into a double play scenario. So getting base runners has not been a problem for Boston. Just getting them home. Slider in the dirt, dug out by Javi Lopez. 2-0 the count. Rodrigo Lopez, he's been a starter here for the Orioles for a couple of years, but he lost the job this spring. And he's working out of the bullpen. He's, according to Lee Mazzilli, going to be one of the setup men at the start of the year. The other guy he says he likes for the late innings and games in front of his closer, Jorge Julio, is B.J. Ryan.
Now you can see Tejada, as we talked about earlier, he's been a leader on this ball club since the first day he walked into spring training.
So he went over and spoke to Rodrigo Lopez. Ball is whacked into center, toward left center. Matos in, and he's got it. Millar hit it right off the end of the bat. So the Red Sox strand another runner. That's 10 left on. Matos, Roberts, and Mora. Tejada due 4th. Last of the 7th coming up. Baltimore's beautiful Inner Harbor, a real show place. And we're not too far from the Inner Harbor of Baltimore here at Camden Yards. John Miller, Joe Morgan, along with Sam Ryan. Opening night for Major League Baseball. A lot of other teams will open up tomorrow, and we'll be following a lot of those games as well. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. To honor the enduring impact of Jackie Robinson and his legacy, Major League Baseball has established April 15th as Jackie Robinson Day. Be sure to catch the celebration. Of course, April 15th is the anniversary of Jackie Robinson's first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947, when he broke what was called the color line. And that is a day well worth commemorating. Joe, you and I were at Shea Stadium for the 50th anniversary of that, what, 7 years ago.
And it's going to be at Shea Stadium again this year.
Here's Mike Timlin on to pitch now for the Red Sox. The veteran right-handed reliever Luis Matos, the 9th place hitter for Baltimore, at the plate taking ball one. Matos singled home the 3rd Baltimore run in that 2nd inning. He struck out his next time. Pedro Martinez goes 6 innings, 3 runs allowed, 2 earned runs, 7 hits. But Pedro really, it was 2 different Pedros we saw tonight. We saw the one remnant of a bad spring training where there were all kinds of questions being asked in Boston and New England about whether Pedro still had it. And then there was Pedro mowing down the Orioles after that. Into the right field corner. The wind is pushing this one. That ball is foul.
I think in what we saw from Pedro was his competitiveness, because he did not have great stuff. And I think part of the reason, again, is cold here, and he's not a cold weather pitcher. But I mean, we saw him compete, and that's what's important. He never got the great fastball. He got up to 91 miles an hour, I guess. He never had complete control of his curveball. He basically was throwing fastball changeups, but he competed, and that's what good pitchers do. They're able to get you out even when they do not have their best stuff.
And remember that this Baltimore lineup is certainly one of the most potent lineups in the American League. 2 to Matos. Strike 3. The first base umpire, Ted Barrett, rings him up, saying that that was no check swing. Pedro Martinez, we mentioned the struggles early on for Pedro. 2nd inning, first pitch to Lopez, gone. Home run down the line. Then later Segui up there, went behind him. Then a wild throw by Pedro, and he was in significant trouble. But then he turned around. He struck out 5 in his last 5 innings of work, and only 1 of the last 13 men he faced got the ball out of the infield against him, Joe. Pedro, 6 innings, 3 runs, 2 earned. Ponson, 5 2/3, 1 run, 7 hits. And the Orioles rose to the occasion behind him when they needed to. Brian Roberts, the leadoff man, and the count is 0-2. So this game now is into the bullpens. Timlin in relief of Pedro Martinez. Rodrigo Lopez has pitched the last 1 1/3 innings for Baltimore. Baltimore's bullpen is busy right now. Roberts 0 for 3. He takes the ball. Let's go to Sam Ryan now.
Thanks a lot, John. Here with Sidney Ponson, starting pitcher, left the game with a 3-1 lead. Sidney, you spent 6 weeks in Florida. You come back here, it's cold. How difficult was it to pitch in these conditions?
It was really difficult because the wind is blowing really hard, and it's kind of hard to get a feel for the pitches. But you know, I'm lucky enough that I put myself in trouble and get myself out of it. So you know, I have great defense behind me, and they make it easier for me.
5 2/3 innings, 111 pitches. The pitch count was high. What were your expectations going into this one?
Not throwing 111, I know that. But you know, I threw it. Work out tomorrow, get the soreness out, throw another bullpen, and get myself ready for Tampa. And that's coming up on Friday. So you know, since right now we have the lead, hopefully we'll win this ball game, and you know, and we'll see what happens.
You come back here to Baltimore. You come back as the opening day starter, as the ace, as the veteran on the staff. How much responsibility do you feel towards the younger guys?
Well, it's a big responsibility, but you know, I got great teachers when I was here, so pitched with a lot of great pitchers is still in the game, so and a couple of them is not still in the game. So just looking forward. When I came in, I did a mistake out there. I came in the clubhouse and I told the boys, I see you do that on Tuesday and I'll slap you. So that's one of those things. But we're just having fun, you know. This bunch of guys right here is unbelievable. We know everybody's relaxed, loose. We know we can win. We just have to go out there and prove it.
Okay, Sidney Ponson, Aruba was watching tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, Sidney Ponson, Major League Baseball, has allowed us to chat with players if they're willing when they leave ball games this year, which has never been done before.
I think at times it'll be very interesting to get some comments from some guys. I wouldn't go up and ask a guy if he just struck out 3 times. So.
And the throw by Varitek, and Roberts is out. Second baseman Bellhorn taking that throw. 2 down. Sidney Ponson with 58 wins in his career, and he hadn't been around that long. The rest of the Orioles starting rotation, Ainsworth, Dubose, Riley, and Bedard between them, have won 10 games in the big leagues. So this is a very young starting rotation. Ponson's, he's the old man. He's the old veteran of that rotation.
There's a lot, you know, made about being a #1 starter or #2 or where you are in the rotation. I don't think it has that much of an effect, except right here at the beginning, opening day, the second half of the season, and if you start the playoffs. Because the next time Ponson pitches, he probably will not pitch against the #1 guy on another staff, because Tampa Bay is not playing, you know, right now. They're going to have to use their #1 guy against the Yankees when they play again. So in the past, you know, for instance, Mon Marichal and Sandy Koufax, they didn't face each other that often, you know, when the Dodgers would play the Giants or vice versa. Because once the season starts, you know, some teams have off days and so forth, so the #1s do not always match up.
Yeah, I saw where Tim Hudson was named the opening night starter for Oakland. He said, well, you know, it's an honor.
Right.
On the other hand, on this staff, I prefer maybe to be the third guy. Instead of having to face everybody's #1 all the time.
Yeah, but you don't always, I think that's a fallacy, though. You do not always face the other guy's #1, because, again, there's different schedules. You have off days when other teams do not, so you do miss each other on occasion. You change, so it'll be times when the #1 guy will face the #5 starter on the other team and vice versa. So I think that's a little bit overrated, except for when you're starting the playoffs, starting the season, and starting, you know, the second half of the season.
Miguel Tejada, and he's got his second hit as an Oriole. In the right field and racing around to third is Melvin Mora. So Timlin had walked consecutive hitters, but Roberts tried to steal second, and Varitek threw him out.
Well, that's Miguel Tejada. He will fight the ball off inside. He goes the other way. I mean, you should try to pull the ball in a lot of situations like this when you have a runner at first base and you're right-handed. The big hole on the right side.
And that gets Rafael Palmeiro. And you heard Cal Ripken. He was with us in the 5th inning. If you were with us, you heard him say that he thought Rafael Palmeiro was probably the best clutch hitter of any guy he ever played with.
And you know what else is interesting about Rafael? A lot of people may not know this. He needs 220 hits to reach 3,000. He already has 500 home runs. Only Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, and Eddie Murray have had 3,000 hits and hit 500 home runs in the history of the game. So he has an opportunity to join those 3 guys, and that's a pretty big class, right? Pretty special class right there.
Murray got his 3,000th hit while with Cleveland, and then came back to the Orioles. And after he came back, he got his 500th home run right here at Camden Yards one night. Palmeiro is now 39 years old. It's a big spot right here. The Red Sox trying to stay close. They're down 3-1. Palmeiro with a single, a deep fly ball to right, and a walk. Palmeiro, for 9 consecutive years, has hit at least 38 home runs. And that is at the top of that particular list, ahead of the Babe even. 2 on, 2 out. Timlin misses inside. 2-0.
He has hit Timlin pretty well. He's 6 for 19. with a home run.
Well, Timlin, been a while since he got anybody out. He struck out Matos to start it, and then he walked Roberts, walked Mora, and Tejada has singled. But Roberts got thrown out trying to steal after his walk. 2-0 the count. Palmeiro, and that's right through the vacated shortstop hole. They had the overshift on. Nobody at shortstop, and that's right where Palmeiro hit it. Scoring is Mora. Tejada to third, and Palmeiro comes through in the clutch. It is 4-1 Orioles.
That's why, I mean, he's such a good RBI man. You give him that hole over there, and he just reaches out and pokes it that way. He takes advantage of it. He would not have done this if the runner wouldn't have been in scoring position. But since you have a runner at third base, he'll go ahead and take the RBI by shooting the ball the other way. A lot of guys will not do that. You have a lot of guys who they shift on and they just go ahead and hit into the shift. But Rafael Palmeiro in this occasion went ahead and took it the other way and got the RBI.
Well, the Boston bullpen is busy as Dave Wallace, the pitching coach, goes out to the mound to talk to Mike Timlin. Alan Embry, the left-hander, is up in the pen. 4 consecutive Orioles have reached base here against Timlin. And the only reason it hadn't even gotten completely out of hand is because of the caught stealing of Brian Roberts. But Javi Lopez is coming up now, so here's Baltimore with a chance to break this one wide open. Lopez, who homered on the first pitch he saw. Then he hit a one-hopper sharply back off Pedro's glove for an infield hit, and then he popped out to the shortstop his last time. Javier Lopez, a very dangerous slugger. 43 homers a year ago. He just clobbered that one, but foul.
I think pretty soon this league's going to know he's a good first pitch fastball hitter.
Well, let's see. The new sluggers in the Oriole lineup are having big nights.
Fastball, and he just gets a little bit out in front. Wanted to hit it too hard and pulled it foul.
Yeah, Tejada wasn't going to hang around to find out where that was going. He hit the deck. That's inside for a ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Tejada tonight, 2 for 4. Palmeiro, 2 for 3 with a walk and an RBI. And Javi Lopez, 2 for 3 with a home run and an RBI. So the 3 new guys, 6 hits and 10 at-bats plus a walk. Right center field. Damon on the run. Damon kept looking at the right fielder, Kepler, and it falls between them. Tejada scores, and now Palmeiro scores. It's a double for Lopez, and the Orioles have started to break it open now, 6-1.
Well, John, we've seen balls drift toward right center and toward the right field line all night. This ball, I thought he hit this ball better than Damon was chasing it. Is a sinker down, and he drilled it into right center. I thought he really hit the ball well, and you can tell from the sound there that he did hit it well. And it just finds a gap between them because Damon was coming from over left center, and then he looked over at Kepler. Kepler couldn't get there. And the Orioles have 2 more runs.
So Mike Timlin, who was so brilliant in the postseason last year, 9 2 scoreless innings, can hardly get anybody out tonight. He's out of the game. The Baltimore Orioles leading the Boston Red Sox 6-1 now. The last of the 7th inning on a very cold night in Baltimore. And there's Alan Embry, veteran left-hander, on in relief of Timlin. Jay Gibbons, the left-handed hitter, at the plate with Javier Lopez at second base. Look out. Right under the chin of Gibbons. If you were Gibbons, would you take that personally?
No, because I don't think it was as close as it looked. I think Gibbons was going toward the plate a little bit. You know, the first thing you do as a left-handed hitter against left-handed pitchers is try not to bail out. And I think he was trying to keep from bailing there.
Gibbons 1 for 3 in the game. Big night for Javi Lopez in his first game for the Orioles. Well, that one fastball in there. 1 ball, 1 strike. The new 3, 4, 5 hitters of the Orioles: Tejada, Palmeiro, Javi Lopez, their first game, just as advertised. 7 hits, 11 at bats between the three of them. Javi Lopez with a homer and 3 runs batted in.
And I'm not sure the ball he just hit would not have gone out under normal, in the normal conditions.
Yeah, that's a good point. A windswept, cold night here in Baltimore. Javi will hit a lot of them. If he hits the ball with authority in that direction, he'll hit a lot of home runs out there this year. This is a ballpark really that's reachable just about anywhere. The deepest part of the ballpark is just to the left of straightaway center. It's 410 feet there. Just barely 400 feet to straightaway center, and then out there in what would normally be deep right center, it's much shallower than that. 2-1 to Gibbons, who hit 23 homers last year and had 100 RBIs for the Orioles. Ooh, that is a strike on the outside. 2-2. Nice pitch. And Joe, if I'm a Red Sox fan, I'm sitting there saying, wait a minute. Timlin walked 2 straight guys. Tejada got a hit. I mean, how many hits was he going to give up before you finally made a move and got him out of there?
Well, he hadn't given up a run. I think that was the key.
2-2 to Gibbons. And the curveball low and outside.
And I think you have to remember, this is his first outing of the season. And you try not to, if you're a new manager, you don't want to go take the guy out in the middle of an inning. You want to give him a chance to get out of the jam, to keep his confidence intact. And I think he just felt like, well, one more hitter, he'll get out of it because there were 2 outs.
Johnny Damon on the move. Shallow left center. And Gibbons is retired. But 3 more runs for Baltimore. 6-1 the Orioles lead. On to the 8th inning now. Camden Yards, Baltimore. Baseball's opening night. And the Red Sox trailing the Orioles 6-1. As they look at the foul pole down the right field line. That foul pole, by the way, used to be the right field foul pole at the old Memorial Stadium here in Baltimore. And a lot of great Oriole teams. That's where the 1966 Orioles, with all those young pitchers, beat the Los Angeles Dodgers. Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale and company, Maury Wills. There's Mike Dejean on to pitch now for the Orioles, in relief of Rodrigo Lopez, who went an inning and a third scorelessly. Gabe Kapler's been on base 3 times tonight. He reached on an error by Mora. Since then, has had 2 singles, but he has not scored a run. The Red Sox have had 8 hits. They've received 4 walks. A hit batsman with only the 1 run. Despite all those runners, they've left 10 men on base. This is just the way things did not go all of last year. They scored all kinds of runs. And that's a foul. And tomorrow, we see Pedro Martinez and the Red Sox for their first game since we left them in Game 7 of that great series with the Yankees last October. Tomorrow, Joe, you and I get to see the Chicago Cubs. Their first game after that heartbreaking loss to the Florida Marlins in the National League Championship Series. And Kerry Wood, the 7th game starter, will get the call tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Kerry Wood in Cincinnati against Griffey, Kearns, Dunn, and the Reds. Corey Lytle will go for the Reds. Rafael Palmeiro going back into foul ground. And that is number 1. Kapler retired for the first time. Tomorrow, opening day, presented by the Home Depot. Cubs and Reds at 2 on ESPN. Kerry Wood for the Cubs. Slam and Samuel will be in there, and probably Griffey for the Reds. Phillies at Pirates, 4 o'clock on the Deuce. Kevin Millwood and Kip Wells. And tomorrow night, it'll be the Giants and the Astros. Kirk Reeder, Roy Oswalt, Barry Bonds, 2 behind his godfather Willie Mays on the home run list. And the 10:30 Eastern tomorrow, the Texas Rangers and the Oakland Athletics. The former Yankee Alfonso Soriano, now a Ranger. And he'll be up against Tim Hudson in the Oakland Athletics tomorrow night at the Coliseum. Jason Varitek, the hitter. He is struck out into a double play, popped out, and grounded into a double play. A ball and a strike.
Well, it'd be good to see the Cincinnati Reds. I mean, they have a potential juggernaut for an offense as well, with Ken Griffey Jr., Kern, Dunn, Larson. I mean, they've got a lot of good hitters over there. And it's a very good hitting ballpark.
Ken Griffey Jr. among all active players has hit more home runs on opening day than anybody else, even Barry Bonds. That's a called strike. 2-2 to Varitek. Javi Lopez has himself an opening day home run today. I mean, talk about getting some guys who have won in the organization. I mean, Tejada's been at 4 straight playoff teams. The new Baltimore shortstop. And Javi Lopez, every year he's played, he's been in the postseason of his entire career. Javi didn't know what it's like to do anything except play in October. Varitek fouls it away. 3-2. So these are guys. It's not just that they know how it's done, but all their teammates know that they know. It's like, hey, these guys. If Tejada tells us, like he did when he went to spring training, if he comes in here and says we can win, well, they have to believe him. They know he knows what he's talking about. Varitek draws a walk. So the veteran Dejan, a little shaky with his control coming into this game here in the 8th inning. Mark Bellhorn, the hitter. Lee Mazzilli, his first game as a big league manager. Mazzilli, when he retired as a player, he played for 14 years. And he had a lot of opportunities in the business world, somewhat like yourself, Joe. I mean, they were just knocking on his door, say, hey, come work for us. Here, own this company. And Mazzilli did a lot of different things, including act. He spent 2 years on a Broadway, well, it was off-Broadway show. Tony and Tina's Wedding. Did you see it?
No, I didn't catch that one.
Guess which part he played?
I'm an on-Broadway kind of guy.
If he'd gotten to Broadway, then you would have seen it.
I'm not an off-Broadway kind of guy, John.
He played Tony in Tony and Tina's Wedding.
Okay.
That is a ground ball base hit for Mark Bellhorn. That's his second hit. Stopping at second is Varitek. And now Pokey Reese will be lifted for a pinch hitter. Brian Daubach going to come up as a pinch hitter for Pokey Reese.
And I think that's one of the things that we talked about earlier when Pokey Reese bunted with two outs and runners at second and third. I mean, you're putting yourself in a position where, you know, anytime there's runners on, the manager may not feel that you have confidence in your ability to get the runners in. Although I must admit, I mean, I don't think it was a horrible play. I just don't think, you know, that it was the right play at that time.
With 2 down in the 4th inning and runners at second and third, he bunted.
The tying run was at second.
Yeah. So Daubach is now pinch hitting for Pokey Reese. And that's low and inside for ball 1. And Dejan just all over the place right now. And Baltimore's bullpen, by the way, is busy.
And again, I mean, it's cold, John, and it's hard to grip the baseball. You know, it's just not the same as, you know, playing in 70 or 80 degree weather.
There's B.J. Ryan, the left-hander, up in the Orioles bullpen. Lee Mazzilli said he just loves the stuff that Ryan brings out there, and he told him during the spring season, you're going to be my setup man in front of the closer. Now it's 2-0.
Well, the one thing you said, it was correct. He's all over the place right now, but he's having trouble just getting any rhythm.
Now Mark Wiley, the Oriole pitching coach, is going to go to the mound to chat with Dejan. The crazy thing is, I mean, he's got a big lead. You know, he can afford to risk a fat strike here, except once he walked Varitek, he put somebody on. Now, you know, the more of a guy is on base, the less you can afford it.
Well, since we were talking about the Lady Vols, we'll say, I mean, he definitely has a foul to take here. I mean, he can go up and make a bad pitch and give up a foul and it won't hurt him, but you have to throw strikes.
It would hurt him a little bit more right now.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah. I remember Russ Hodges, the great Hall of Fame broadcaster that I grew up listening to with Lon Simmons, 2 Hall of Fame broadcasters, voices of the Giants. Russ used to say when a guy would walk a guy with a big lead, he'd say, that he has just broken the cardinal rule of pitching with a lead. Daubach, changeup misses. And you saw Dejan come stumbling off the mat after he threw that one.
I don't think that was intended to be a changeup, John. I think he got his spike caught, and he just didn't have much on the pitch. I can't see throwing a changeup after you're missing with all these pitches and there's 2 balls and no strikes. I think he just got his foot caught.
So not a changeup, a screw up.
Yeah, this would be a fastball. So that's a fastball.
3-1. What will this one be?
Another fastball. I think Javi should put down 3 straight fastballs if he's given the opportunity to do so.
Varitek at second, Bellhorn at first, 2 men on. Daubach, the pinch hitter, guy who really made his career with the Red Sox. Showed some power. Was with the White Sox last year and just couldn't get a hit. But he made it back to the big leagues with the Red Sox this year. Well, that fastball, and he missed inside with it. That's 2 walks. Well, this one may not be over just yet. Lee Mazzilli's coming out. He's got his setup man. B.J. Ryan ready in the bullpen. Daubach's going to leave for a pinch runner. Cesar Crespo. And Mazzilli has made the call. 6-1 Orioles, but the Red Sox have the bases loaded. And the top of the order coming up with Johnny Damon. Ryan coming in. Orioles 6, Red Sox 1, top of the 8th inning. The Red Sox have been given an opportunity here. Mike Dejan walked 2 and gave up a hit. Leaves the bases loaded for B.J. Ryan, 28-year-old left-hander. And it is too high to Johnny Damon. Damon is 0 for 4 ground ball outs. The new look Damon. I thought the old Damon used to be a much better hitter. Now maybe this version of Johnny Damon will emerge here. We'll see. This would be a good time if you're a Red Sox fan to see him get a big hit as he takes a strike. Mike Dejan in the dugout now. His Oriole debut. He just had no command of the strike zone. Now it's 2-1 to Johnny Damon. B.J. Ryan last year got into 76 games for the Orioles, which tied a club record for most relief appearances by a record held by Tippy Martinez. Blew that fastball right by Damon. 2-2 the count.
Well, let's look at this pitch. It looked like a very good pitch right over the outside edge. And Johnny Damon a little late on it.
That could be 2. Juggled by Tejada to second one, and Roberts does not make a throw. Damon, a very fast runner. Tejada would have had to have played it cleanly to have a chance at a double play. Varitek in to score. Bellhorn over to third. Crespo, the pinch runner, retired at second. 6-2 now. The Orioles lead.
I'm not sure they would have been able to double Damon up either, because he gets out of the box pretty quickly. And the ball was hit sharply right in front. But good job by Tejada. You got to make sure you get one. So he smothered it and then made the throw to second base.
So Varitek has scored. That was one of the walks. That's how Varitek got aboard. Here's Bill Miller right up the middle, but not hit hard. Tejada there. And the inning is over. 2 more left on base for the Red Sox, who have now stranded 12 runners in this game. 6-2 Baltimore. Orioles 6, Red Sox 2. A night of extreme frustration for the Red Sox. There is Scott Williamson, who ended up being the closer for the Red Sox by the time they were playing the Yankees in the League Championship Series. So Williamson on the pitch now. They, of course, have acquired a new closer, Keith Folk, who was with Oakland last year. Will do that job. So Williamson now will be one of the setup men in front of him. Cesar Crespo, who came out as a runner for Daubach, stays in to play shortstop for Boston. How about this? The Red Sox have 9 hits in this game. The Orioles have committed an error. They've walked 6 of them. They've hit about it. What's that? 17 base runners for Boston. Only 2 runs scored. Only 1 extra base hit, a double by Bellhorn in the 4th inning. So here's David Segui with Larry Bigby and Luis Matos to follow. And Segui takes ball 1 from Williamson. The Orioles, meanwhile, got 3 runs in the second inning. Javi Lopez started it with a homer. Pedro's throwing error allowed a run. And Matos singled home a run. And then 3 runs in the 7th inning, all against the reliever, Mike Timlin. There's a high fastball. Foul tip off the glove of the catcher, Jason Varitek. 1 ball, 1 strike. 47,683. The official paid attendance at Camden Yards tonight. And there are still some of them here. Hardy souls.
You mentioned all the runners that the Red Sox left on base, John. It's much more difficult to play in cold weather on the road opening day than it is at home. You're at home, you're all excited, and you're ready to go out and play. But when you're on the road and you play in this kind of weather, I think your enthusiasm is not quite, is tempered a little bit. And you have to remember, most of these teams, they've come from Florida where the weather was nice. And this is not a good night for hitting. Although the Orioles have done a good job.
But, you know, when you mentioned about the enthusiasm waning in the cold weather, it brings back to mind a couple of plays early in this game by the Red Sox infield where one was a comebacker to Pedro, who apparently did not get the help from his infielders that he needed in terms of where to throw the ball.
And also one time on a stolen base, they didn't let Varitek know that the hitter, that their base runner was stealing second, and he threw late to second base.
That's the other play. That ball hits the bag. That's a fair ball for Segui. Out to retrieve it is Bellhorn as Segui is into second with a double. That ball hit off the corner of the bag.
Now that's what you call getting a little break here, because it hits the side of the bag on the foul side, but it hits the bag. Little slide piece didn't do a lot right there on the inside part of the plate. It hits the outside corner of the bag.
So David Segui gets his first hit of the night. He's now 1 for 3. He got hit by Pedro back in the second inning in that 3-run rally. And the batter will be Larry Bigby. Bigby's the guy who hit the ball softly back toward Pedro. And Pedro looked like he was about to throw the ball to second, and he had the chance to get the runner at second. And then instead threw off balance to first and made a bad throw. But that was the play, right? One of the plays you're talking about, where apparently was no communication from his infielders. Here's Bronson Arroyo up in the Boston bullpen. Arroyo, who's right now going to be the 5th starter for the Red Sox, with Byung-Hyun Kim on the disabled list. Bigby 0 for 3. And Williamson missed badly that time. You know, Bigby, every guy on the team, his teammates, they rave about it. His manager, Lee Mazzilli, raved about it. And apparently, Joe, at least the stories that you hear, when the Orioles talk to teams about, you know, a veteran starting pitcher to help their rotation, other teams always want Bigby. And apparently the Orioles are not willing to trade him. There's a hard slider from Williamson. That was a beauty. 1-2 to count. So he's got some power. He's got some speed. They like him a lot. He grew up in Indiana. And he said he was a great Cubs fan. And yet his idol, his favorite player as a kid, was a great White Sox hitter, Harold Baines. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Ooh, beauty. Strike 3 called, and Bigby knew it.
Well, he saw the great slider to pitch before. He's looking for another one, and he got a fastball on the inside part of the plate. See, set up on the inside, fastball that tails back. It started off the inside corner and tailed back.
Now Turner goes in, number 14. That's Jose Bautista, goes in to run for Segui. Coming up next, right after the ball game, NHRA SummitRacing.com Nationals. Catch all the pro qualifying from the state-of-the-art Las Vegas Motor Speedway here on ESPN2. Luis Matos, the hitter. Bautista, the runner at second. It's a foul off the right field line. Bigby said that he he loved Harold Baines, you know, because he was a left-handed hitter, but also his family used to go down to Sarasota in the springtime. I guess his mom and dad were probably White Sox fans. He was a Cub fan, but they liked to go watch the White Sox. And he was hanging outside as a little kid, the White Sox clubhouse after a game, and Harold Baines signed an autograph and chatted with him for a little bit. Harold Baines and Carlton Fisk. He said, I said, how old were you? He says, 5. But he said they made such an impression on him that they was not only sign for him, but stay and chat with him a little bit. Ask him questions about himself. But he seemed to remember Harold Baines even more fondly than Carlton Fisk, because Baines is the guy that he ended up idolizing. At shortstop, that's Crespo. Low throw, and Millar cannot handle it, and that's going to cost the Red Sox a run. Here comes Bautista in to score.
Well, we talked about how difficult it is to play under these conditions. It's even more difficult to sit over there on the bench for most of the ball game and then have to come in as a late inning replacement. And you're a little cold, you're stiff. Look at this, he throws this ball sidearm and it sinks. He didn't get up on top, and the ball gets away from Millar at first base. That's a tough pickup for Millar. Ball hit way out in front.
So Matos is safe on the error. Crespo came on to play short after Reese was lifted for a pinch hitter. Crespo then went in as a runner for Daubach and stayed in to play short. Pokey put on a show here tonight on defense. And that is a ball to Brian Roberts. By the way, our ace who comes up with these things for us here in 15 years of covering baseball on ESPN, Marty Aronoff, tells us that with the cold weather you mentioned, you know, it's tough to get things done out there. Miguel Tejada has handled 12 chances tonight without a miscue. 2-0 now to Brian Roberts. And Pokey was handling quite a few as well when he was out there. There's Tejada. And Pokey Reese. Pokey was wearing a microphone tonight. We have Pokey was very disappointed, we learned, when he found out that Cal Ripken was in the ballpark tonight and he didn't meet him. Said he always wanted to meet Cal. In fact, let's listen in. This is back earlier in the game.
It's not supposed to be this cold. Is Cal here tonight? Yeah, he threw out the first pitch. Oh, dang. He was one of them. I never met him. I want to meet him. Dang. I thought it was Costa. Yeah. I got it.
Well, Pokey Reese. Pokey was having fun out there tonight, that's for sure. So Matos forced out. Roberts is now aboard. And that'll bring up Melvin Mora. Mora is 1 for 3 with a walk in this game. Melvin Mora. He has 6 children, Joe. And he had 5 of them. He and his wife had 5 of them all at the same time. Quintuplets. Mora thrown out by Bellhorn. And now we're heading to the 9th inning. Manny Ramirez, Ortiz, Millar, big power coming up for Boston, but they're down by 5. 7-2 Orioles. Now the Red Sox, last chance, are down by 5 in the 9th inning on a cold night. A bad night to have to play a baseball game for sure. And for the Red Sox, it's just been a bad night all the way around. 17 base runners for Boston, but only 2 runs. Manny Ramirez has driven in one of those with a single. Takes a strike from B.J. Ryan. The Baltimore bullpen is busy. These teams don't play again until Tuesday, by the way. And if this score holds up, Curt Schilling in his Red Sox debut will be asked to be the stopper. Schilling will go on Tuesday here in Baltimore against Eric Dubose. Here's Curt. 0-2 the count to Ramirez. Strike 3.
Man, you don't see that very often. I mean, 3 straight pitches, 3 strikes, and you're out. He started him out with a pitch away, and he stayed away pretty much most of the at bat. Right on the outside corner. It's like a little slider.
Yeah, slide piece.
Yeah, slide. Got him too.
Ellis Burks now back with the Red Sox. Back with a club with which he started his big league career a long time ago. And he takes a strike. Ellis at the moment not able to play the outfield, although his knees are in pretty good shape. But his elbow giving him some trouble. He's not able to throw the ball like an outfielder yet. Palmeiro, nice pickup. Ryan covering, and Burks is retiring.
Well, he said that, you know, he had an operation on his elbow, but I talked to him before the game. He said he figures maybe he can play in a couple of weeks, you know, in the outfield. Be able to throw in the outfield well enough to play there.
Well, if the Orioles back in the winter when Mike Flanagan and Jim Beatty, the co-general managers, when they were putting the master plan together, tonight's game would have been just what they were looking at. The new guys, Tejada, Palmeiro, and Javi Lopez, all with big nights. 7 hits, 11 at bats. And 4 RBIs between the 3 of them. And Javi Lopez, a homer and 3 RBIs in a 3-hit game. Big night for Javi Lopez. Rafael Palmeiro, 2 hits and a walk and an RBI. A couple of nice plays in the field. Dug out a couple of low throws, which real big plays on a cold night like tonight. And Miguel Tejada, he's had 2 hits. And Tejada with 12 chances in the field, and he's been flawless on a miserable night. Kevin Millar into right center. That's going to fall, base hit. Matos over to cut it off. That's the first hit for Millar. He's now 1 for 5. And the 10th hit of the game for the Red Sox. He is the 18th Red Sox base runner. Lee Mazzilli, the new manager. And just about everything went according to plan.
Well, he showed us a little something. He stole a base. You know, he stole a couple of bases, put runners in motion. I think that tells you, as he said to you before the game, that he's going to be aggressive.
He had 2 steals in that 1 inning, the 3-run second against Pedro. But also Pedro, I mean, we saw 2 Pedros tonight. I mean, for a while it looked like he wouldn't survive the second inning. And then he seemed to find that little something extra. I think you touched on it earlier, Joe, when you said he never really had the great stuff tonight, but that competitiveness seemed to come out.
Yeah, he really competed well, which is what you want when you do not have your best stuff.
He did seem to get a little extra hop in that fastball after all the early trouble. He started out throwing that fastball 88, 87, 89 miles an hour, and then was more regularly up around 90, 91 after that. That's a foul off the bat of Gabe Kapler. 2-2 the count. Pedro went 6 innings, gave up 3 runs, but only 2 earned runs. Kapler broke his bat. He's going to get a new piece of wood. And when the Red Sox went to their bullpen, they went to Mike Timlin, who was so great last October. And Timlin walked 2 in a row, gave up 3 straight hits, only got 1 batter out. 3 runs later, this game was starting to look lopsided. And this Boston offense missing Nomar Garcia-Parra and Trot Nixon tonight. And it's just been a study in frustration for them. That one hit down off home plate, and it's going to be an infield hit for Kapler. Mora did not pick it up, but it wouldn't have mattered, I don't think, even if he had. Millar over to second.
Now that ball took the high chop, and Kapler runs well, and Mora tried to charge it. The only chance he had was try to short hop it, but as you mentioned, even if he would have come up with it cleanly, he was not going to be able to throw Kapler out. So that's a high chop. And Mora tries to field it quickly and get rid of it and could not come up with it.
So Kapler gets his 3rd hit of the game. He's 3 for 5. Now Varitek 0 for 3 with a walk. And it's a strike from B.J. Ryan. 7-2, the Orioles leading the Red Sox. Varitek, who had a big year last year, 25 homers, 85 batted in, and he's got most of his power from as a right-handed hitter.
Well, the one thing you have to like about Ryan is he throws strikes. I mean, he comes in, he throws strikes, he makes them put the ball in play. And as I've always said, a left-hander that can throw strikes will do a great job.
Well, Lee Mazzilli agrees with it. He made him the setup man. Last year, he was more of a situational kind of a lefty. You know, he'd come in to face a left-handed hitter or, you know, stretch of the lineup where, say, 3 out of 4 hitters were lefties, things like that. And Mazzilli said, no. He said, when I was with the Yankees, he said, when he come in to face one lefty and then they take him out, he always say, thank God he's out. So Ryan is the setup man. He got a different kind of a job now. And that's a foul out of play. Jorge Julio is the Orioles closer. But at least for now, no need for him tonight. He was warming up a little bit earlier. And you and I will be headed for Cincinnati. There's Julio just sitting down back in the bullpen. 2 o'clock tomorrow on ESPN. We'll see. We'll check in with Dusty Baker's Cubs. See Kerry Wood. Now, Kerry Wood, you know, in New England, we're concerned about Pedro because he wasn't throwing that well in the spring. The Cubs, meanwhile, Kerry Wood had an incredible spring. Looked like he didn't even need spring training. He was so good.
Well, you expected him to be better this year than he even was last year because it's a couple years removed from his arm problems. So, I mean, if they stay healthy, that's going to be an unbelievable staff. And, of course, Mark Pryor is going to be on the disabled list for a while, but that staff is going to be unbelievable. And just going to be great to watch them pitch.
Wood, Pryor, Clement, Zambrano. Now they added Greg Maddux. 11 wins shy of 300 back in Chicago. We'll check in with the Cubs tomorrow. We'll be on ESPN 2 o'clock from Cincinnati, 2 o'clock Eastern time. No swing. This is Ted Barrett, the first base umpire. So the Red Sox are still breathing. 2 men on, 2 men. Of course, the whole game has been 2 men on, 2 men out for the Red Sox. 19 base runners for Boston tonight. 2 runs. Bellhorn would be next. Millar at second, Kapler at first. And it goes on. Back out of play. Lee Mazzilli, former ball player, former businessman, former actor. His wife, actually, he said, kicked him out the door and said, go manage. You want to manage? Go manage. And he managed in the minor leagues, and now he's in the big leagues. And he's 1 strike away from having a winning record as a big league manager. Mazzilli said he learned a lot from Joe Torre, watching how Torre managed. And he says, you know, every once in a while he and Torre will still talk on the phone. Torre called him this morning and wished him good luck in his first game as a big league manager. And he's got his first win as a big league manager in the books now. The frustration never ended for the Red Sox on this night. 2 more left on. They left 14 men on for the game. And the new look Baltimore Orioles are a winner. And they have beaten Pedro Martinez. Sidney Ponson got the win. Only the 2nd time he's ever beaten Boston versus 9 losses. Up next, NHRA Racing. For Joe Morgan, Sam Ryan, and our entire ESPN crew, this is John Miller. Thanks for tuning in. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Good night from Baltimore.